Peace, peace. What's happening, Grand Risings? Grand Risings 2 and 6 in the building. Walk on water, what's happening? Grand Risings, y'all. See y'all in here. Peace, peace. Y'all slept good? Y'all had some good, good sleep? Okay, real, what's happening, fam? Peace, peace. We in for one today. We talking about the history of the Chazars. My bad, y'all. I'm still trying to wake up. Grand Risings, or alright. We talking about the history of Chazars. Give you a little introduction of where we heading with it next week. We'll do the great recap either tonight when my daughter go to sleep or bright and early tomorrow morning. But today, this rising, I want to introduce us to a topic that we're going to try and slide through and talk about, right? We're going to talk about the Chazars. All right. We're going to talk about the Chazars and the Chazarian Empire, right? And y'all know I'm saying Chazar as a code word, right? So it's a code word, Chazars, right? We should already know who they are, though. So we're going to talk about a little history about these folk. You know what I'm saying? And see where it leads us. So shout out to everybody that's in here, man. Y'all like the live, share the live, hit that repost button. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We're going to be reading from the book called The 13th Tribe. I don't know if many of y'all ever heard that book before, but that's what we're going to be reading from. The 13th Tribe. Like I said, I got a lot of books on this stuff too. You know what I'm saying? We're going to dive into them because, like I said, all of this is tied in. All of this is tied into colonial history. Real shit. All of it is tied into colonial history. You said you don't think you read that yet? Oh man, what's happening, sleepy eyes? Let me turn my background so people will know what we talking about today. Boom, here we go. That's what we talking about right y'all. Y'all want to get y'all screenshot? Y'all know where it's at. Archives. You got some good stuff in here, man. Some stuff you got to dodge to hijack in, of course. But for the most part, very accurate. Very accurate. You just got your screenshot? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to find something in there. And there's a part in this book that briefly talks about another kind of Chazar that a lot of us is not familiar with. We're gonna talk a little about it. But there's another group of Chazars that's very much hidden behind the scene that a lot of people don't know even exist. I'm talking about a lot of people don't know that these certain Chazars don't exist. I mean, they exist, but you don't see them in public. And we're going to get into that as well, too. All right, we're going to get into that as well, too. So what's happening, St. Grand Risings, man? So we're gonna let just a little bit more people get in here before we get started, before we pop it off. So if y'all haven't liked the live yet, share the live, hit that repost button. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let me get this coffee in my system real quick. And let me cut the heat up. It's a little chilly in here. Peace, peace. Shout out to everybody that's in here, man. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. So we got 14 people in here. Get 14 people reposting. So how many of y'all ever seen this book, heard this book, or read from this book? And how much do y'all know about the Chazars? Grand Risings was adding tomorrow. Genius Music of the Builder was adding. Divine Love was good. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's get 16 shares, 16 reposts. Appreciate the gifts, y'all. So how many of y'all ever heard of this book or read from this book? Or do y'all even know what a Chazar is? Not what, but who Chazars are. Was that an E-Flow? Peace, peace. Capri the building. What's happening, Grand Risers, everybody? So this book is I would say it is very important if you're trying to learn about these people's history and everything, and how everything led up to colonial days, because and I'm gonna make sure to lead y'all to colonial days as we continue breaking this book down day by day. We're gonna end up all the way into colonial times, right? Trust me, we're gonna end up to colonial times. Because at a certain period of time in colonial times, a lot of small hats was coming over here. Not the 1800s now, but like 16, 1700s. Remember I told you, like, a nice little group of them came over here and they was laying low for a little minute until the 1800s came, and then a mass immigration of them came over here. So a few of them was already over here setting up a little shop, so-called Amish and Mormon people. Grand Rises Lily was heading. Queen Virgo was good. And I ended the live too fast yesterday. I felt like I ended the live too fast, but I was real hungry. I haven't ate nothing since I woke up yesterday. I've been up since 5 for work yesterday. I was up for like 12 hours operating off crackers and water. So I got real hungry, so I had to end the live last night. But I do want to say I appreciate everybody for all the support yesterday. You know what I'm saying? All the love, all the gifts, repost, shares. Appreciate the Cash App donations to help Mom Dukes out. You know what I'm saying? We got a little bit of something done today. We're going to try and get a little bit more done today as well. Just trying to make sure she's straight for the week. So, you know, if you want to donate to the Cash App, you know, to help me help Mom Dukes out for this week, you know, I really do appreciate it. You know, anything helps, you know, 5, 10, 20, you know what I'm saying? Anything helps, and I really do appreciate it. And I also don't mind paying you back if it's a loan or whatever. Like I said, just trying to make Mom Duke straight. Just try to be a good son, you know what I'm saying? So that's just the message right now. So we about to get into it, though. We about to get into it. We got 20 people in here. Just get 20 reposts, 20 shares, 20 gifts thrown in the air, man. We about to get in it, turn up. So this book is called The Chazaria Empire and Its Heritage, right? The 13th tribe, right? The Chazaria Empire and Its Heritage, the 13th tribe. The 13th tribe. All right. So just go ahead and start reading. We got enough people in here. Just go ahead and start kicking it off. So we're going to begin with chapter 1, of course, because this is another, you know, a new source that I'm bringing out to everybody. It's an old book, but it's a new source for the platform. So we're going to begin in chapter 1. You ain't messing up. We just not getting started. Just not getting started. Just flip the page to chapter 1. So roll it if you got it. Get your coffee if you got it, or your water, or your tea, whatever you prefer to drink. And we about to get into it, right? So let's talk about the rise of the Chazars first. All right. Anybody know who Chazars are before we get started? All right. Hold on, let me change my background because I don't need y'all cheating on the nigga. Anybody know who Chazars are? Like, who are they? Where are they from? And how did they get into power? Anybody know any of those? Said dope, start from scratch. Oh, we gonna start from scratch. We're gonna start from scratch. And this is a perfect time to bring it out since everybody is starting to, you know what I'm saying? It's a perfect time to bring it out since the veil is being lifted and everybody's starting to, hey man, these folks ain't real proper. So this is a nice time to bring this out. What's happening, bro? Peace, peace. Said, aren't they the Babylonians? Nah, they not the Babylonians. You said Turks, or they Turkish, you know, ish. Kind of like Turks, but not for real. They're around the same region. Tayani in the building. Peace, peace. Crimson Chin, what's happening? City in the building, what's happening? Shit, cooling. They from Europe. Say you got a question, what's happening? Yeah, ask your question. Bit dog. Y'all can ask any question y'all want. What's happening, Star? Star in the building. He said the Ottoman Empire? Nah, they not the Ottoman Empire. Not the Ottoman Empire. They was fighting against the Ottoman Empire, but they not part of the Ottoman Empire. You read or seen that new chart of world history from 1700s? Nah, I ain't never seen it before. If you could send it to me, I'll check it out. But I ain't never seen it before. They are definitely converts. Definitely converts. Appreciate the gifts, Diana. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. check it out. Matter of fact, let me screenshot that so I can check it out when I get off live. Peace, peace, Cherokee. Is there a connection to the bass? Not really. Not really. Not Persians either. Assistant to Ben Franklin. Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it out. The hidden family members. They not our family, but there is a group of hidden family members that belong to them that people don't know about, which is probably gonna blow y'all mind when I read it to y'all. All right. So the Chazars are a group from Eastern Europe. Okay. They from the area called Chazaria in Eastern Europe, right? Caucasians. All right. They Caucasians, right? They come from Gog and Magog. All right. They converted over to Judaism around 730, 800 AD. During a time where the Christian Crusades and the Muslim Crusades was jumping off and everything like that. A lot of Sephardic Jews was being persecuted, exiled, slave traded. So a lot of Sephardic Jews ended up in Chazaria in those areas. Hold on. All right. It aligns with the expulsion and the migration, even the Polish, I believe. Ooh. I'm gonna check that out. You mean the ones that's connected to the Ash? Well, they are the Ash. Well, the forefathers of them, right? The Chazars are the forefathers of the Ash. You feel me? Got to be a part of the Roman Empire. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into it. What's happening, Bella? What's happening? We got 50 people in here. Let's get 50 reposts, 50 shares, 50 gifts slinging in the air. And also, if you all, just get these heart me's up. Let's get these heart me's up real quick, y'all. It's 50 people in here. We just need 13 heart me's. Just get these heart me's in. I appreciate y'all. But I do want to say, before we get started, once again, if anybody want to donate to the Cash App to help me help Mom Dukes out, try to get a couple of her bills caught up, get some groceries in her house. She had knee surgery, so she can't work right now. So I'm just trying to do my part, trying to help her out and help myself out at the same time. It's getting a little thin, but, I got to do what I got to do for Mom Dukes. So if anybody want to help, feel free to sling something to the Cash App. Like I told people, I don't mind repaying you back on my payday or anything like that. I just want to make sure my Mom Dukes is straight until she can get back on her feet. So let's go ahead and get into it, though. Without further ado, let's go to chapter 1, the rise of the Chazars, right? We got to start with the rise of the Chazars first, right? So chapter 1, about the time of Charlemagne was crowned emperor of the West. Right? Of the West. The eastern confines the Europe between Caucasus and Volga. Okay? He was crowned emperor. Charlemagne was crowned emperor of the West. The eastern confines of Europe between the Caucasus and Volga were ruled by a Jewish state known as the Chazars. Right? The Chazar Empire. At the peak of its power, from the 7th to the 10th century AD, it played a significant part in shaping the destinies of medieval and consequently of modern Europe. They did what? The Chazars played a significant part in shaping destinies of medieval. Remember what happened in medieval time, right? Remember what happened in medieval time. The Phantom Timeline. Ring a bell, y'all? Right? Phantom Timeline, right? Medieval, huh? Keep that in mind as we breaking this down. And consequently of modern Europe, right? The whitewashing of modern Europe, right? Keep that in mind as well, too. The Byzantine emperor and the historian Constantine Fortiganius, 913-959, must have been well aware of this when he recorded in his treatise on court protocol that the letters addressed it to the Pope in Rome, and similar to those of the Emperor of the West, right, Western Europe, had a gold seal worth 2 zlotys attached to them, okay, where messages to the king of the Chazars displayed a seal worth 3 zlotys, okay, all right, of 3 zlotys, all right. This was not flattery, but real politic, right? Quote, in the period which we were concerned, unquote, wrote Berry, it is problematic that the Khan or the king of the Chazars was of little less importance in view of the imperial foreign policy than Charles the Great and his successors, right? Holy Roman Empire, okay? The country of the Chazars, a people of Turkish stock, right? They're not Turks, but they're of a Turkish stock, okay? Occupied a strategic key position. What's that, Kevin? A strategic key position at the vital gateway between the Black Sea and the Caspian, where the great Eastern powers of the period confronted each other. It acted as a buffer protecting Byzantium against invasions by the lusty barbarian tribesmen of the northern steppes, right? The Bulgars, the Magyars, the Pechniks, and etc. And later, the Vikings and Russians, right? Remember, the Vikings are swarthy, right? So it's the Russians, huh? Peep game. But equally, or even more important, both from the point of the view of the Byzantine diplomacy and of European history, it is the fact that the Chazar army effectively blocked the Arab avalanche in its most devastating early stages, and thus prevented the Muslim conquest of Eastern Europe. They prevented the Muslim conquest of Eastern Europe. So already jumping off, you got the Chazars going against the Muslims. All right, what's that? Magnificent peace, right? Already jumping off, you got the Chazars going against the Muslims. Remember what we learned about the Muslims, Sephardics, Moors, Indians, right? The Chazars was against Islam, and they've been beefing with them since the beginning of Islam, right? Was that intoxic? Peace. All right. Professor Dunlap of Columbia University, a leading authority on the history of the Chazars, has given a condensed summary of the decisive yet virtually unknown episode. All right. The unknown episode. Grand Risings, OG. OG JD in the building. Of the episode. Okay. Now, the Chazar country, it lay across the neutral line of advance of the Arabs. Within a few years of the unaliving or the death of Muhammad in 632 AD, the armies of the Caliphate swept northwards through the wreckage of two empires and carrying all before them. Reached the great mountain, right? Reached the great mountain barriers of the Caucasus. All right, was saying it too much? All right, they reached the great barriers of the Caucasus, right? Caucasus Mountains, right? This barrier once passed, the road lay upon to the lands of Eastern Europe. As it was on the land of the Caucasus, the Arabs met the force of an organized military power which effectively prevented them from extending their conquests in this direction. All right. So the WARs of the Arabs and the Chazars, which lasted more than 100 years. The wars of the Arabs and the Chazars lasted more than 100 years. Okay. All right. Though little known, have thus considerable historical importance. The Franks of Charles, right? The Franks of Charles, all right, on the field of the Tours turned the tide of Arab invasion. Arab invasion. Okay. At about the same time, what's that in midnight? At about the same time, the threat to Europe in the east was hardly less acute. The victorious Muslims were met and held by the forces of the Chazar kingdom. It can sacredly be doubted that but for the existence of the Chazars in the region north of the Caucasus, Byzantium, the bulwark of Europe's civilization in the east, would have found itself outflanked by the Arabs, and the history of Christendom and Islam might well have been very different from what we know today. Which is, we have already learned that, right? When we was breaking down Thoth and everything, right? Christendom and Islam was completely different from what we have and know today. And Christendom, Holy Roman Empire, Serapis, Constantine, all of them, all of this is in the same time. What's that, Cam? Peace. Right? All of this is in the same time now. Keep that in mind. It's all connected. It's all connected. Okay? 4D Griffin in the building. Peace. Melanated God. What's happening? Peace. Real in the building. What's happening, real? All right. Let's keep going, though. It is perhaps not surprising, given the circumstances, that in 732 AD, after a resounding Chazar victory over the Arabs, the future emperor Constantine married a Chazar princess. All right, Constantine, right? Christendom, right? Constantine, right? Holy Roman Empire, married a Chazar princess, right? And remember, these people are swarthy at this time, right? Even though we saying Chazars and Edip and all of this type of stuff, this is 732. Most of these people are swarthy, quote unquote El Negro. All right, just keep that in mind. So now, the future Emperor Constantine married a Chazar princess. In due time, their son became the Emperor Leo Africanus, Holy Roman Empire, Africanus, us. When you had that US at the end of the name, Holy Roman Empire, right? Could that be Leo Africanus? Let's keep reading, though. Known as Leo the Chazar. Ironically, the last battle in the war of 737 ended in a Chazar defeat. But by that time, the impetus of the Muslim Holy War was spent. The Caliphate was rocked by internal decisions, and the Arab invaders retraced their steps across the Caucasus without having gained a permanent foothold in the north. Whereas the Chazars became more powerful than they had previously been. A few years later, probably 740 AD, the king, his court, and the military ruling class embraced the Jewish faith in Judaism. 740 AD, right? Became the state religion of the Chazar. No doubt, their contemporaries were astonished by this decision, as modern scholars were when they came across the evidence in the Arab, Byzantine, Russian, and Hebrew sources. One of the most recent comments is to be found in the works by Hungarian Marxist historian Dr. Antal Bertha. His book on the Magyar society in the 8th and 9th century has several chapters on the Chazars, as during most of that period, the Hungarian were ruled by them. The Huns was ruled by the Chazars. Yet, their conversion to Judaism is discussed in a single paragraph with obvious embarrassment. All right, what's happening, GMB? Peace, peace. All right, flipping the page. Ooh, boy, it's hella highlights on this page. Hella highlights on this thing. All right. So the armies of the Caliphate sweeping northward through the... Oh, yeah, we already read it. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I already read that. Flipping the page. There we go. So now, with obvious embarrassment, it reads, our investigation cannot go into problems pertaining to the history or of ideas, but we must call the reader's attention to the matter of the Chazar kingdoms, state religion. It was the Jewish faith which became the official religion of the ruling strata of society. All right, the ruling strata of society. All right, the acceptance. It became the official religion of the ruling strata of society. Needless to say, the acceptance of the Jewish faith as the state religion. The acceptance of the Jewish faith as the state religion of an ethnically non-Jew person. So they already telling you right here that these people are not ethnically Jews. They're converts. Now the question is, where's the ethnically Jews if these people are not ethnically Jewish? Right? Where's the real ones? What happened to the real ones? Right? What happened to the real ones if these are non-ethnically Jews? Right? And it could be the subject of interesting speculations. We shall, however, confine ourselves to the remarks that this official conversion, in defiance of Christian pastoralizing of Byzantine, the Muslim influence of the East, and in spite of the political pressures of these two powers, to a religion, what's that in Swarthy? Peace, fam. To a religion which had no support from any political power, but was persecuted by nearly all. Right? So these Chazars were being persecuted by all, right? Everybody had a problem with them. You said they were bred out as well as chased out, sadly. I wouldn't say that they was bred out. I wouldn't say that they was bred out. Chased out, definitely. Bred out, nah. The real ethnically Saffordized are in America, and their children call themselves black. Black people, black Americans, African American. Yeah, the descendants of the real ones is calling themselves by misnomers right now. This is why they always got a problem when some of us be like, hey man, we Jews. Anti-Semitic, oh, counsel him, shut him up. All that other shit. Just they do the same shit that the natives do. When we say we Indians. Oh, Indian erasure. If it was a lie, why you mad? If it's a lie, why you scared? If it's a lie, why you gotta discredit? A lie gonna always discredit itself. All you gotta do is just let it be what it be. So the real ethnically Saffordized are in America and in Africa. Because remember, at this time, the Sephardics and Moors, not the Arabs and Muslims that's in East Europe, the Moors of Mauritania, right, before they was converted to Islam, The Mauritanians, the Berbers, the Tuaregs, and the Safavids, they are going against Rome. Not the Holy Roman Empire. Not yet, anyways. The Holy Roman Empire is coming, right? They're beefing more with the regular Roman Empire, right? It's just some small little tribal beef that they going through, boop, 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 you know what I'm saying? And then when the Holy Roman Empire come in, they absorb the original Romans and they take the seat as the so-called Catholic Church or whatever the case may be. Then the small hat people start coming in over. And now you get into the persecution of the real Jews or the Safavids. But we gonna get there though. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. I don't want to get ahead. What's that in the Matrix? Peace, peace. He said that's African erasure. Oh shit. Hold on, Swart. Hold on. Ooh, I wasn't ready for that. Hold on. Oh shit. Man, I said African erasure, boy. You never know. Shit, they might start using that on niggas, bro. You guys don't want to be African? There's African erasure. Boy, don't let the Africans hear that. You know how they do. They take everything we say and run with it, but don't let the Africans hear that. They'll say you committing African erasure because you don't want to be African. What's that in flower? Peace, peace. They already be doing that? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. What's happening, Ra? Peace, peace. Ra made man in the building. All right. Let's keep going though. We breaking down the Chazars just like I told y'all yesterday. Right? I promise y'all we're gonna wake up and we're gonna start breaking this down since the veil is being revealed. Oh, and then I got a newspaper article for y'all, but we're gonna get there in a second. And I got another newspaper article for y'all, right? Dude with the funny mustache arrested her. Okay, we're gonna get there though. I just want to show y'all, you know what I'm saying? Hey, look, we gonna get there. We gonna get there. Check it out. Check it out. It's all connected, especially to you. Especially to you. But we're gonna get there. So let's get into it though. So he said that there's a paragraph that discusses the conversion. All right. And this is the paragraph. And it says that our investigation cannot go into problems pertaining to the history of ideas, but we must call the reader's attention to the matter of the Chazar kingdom state religion. It was the Jewish faith which became the official religion of the ruling strata of society. Needless to say, the acceptance of the Jewish faith as a state religion of non-ethnically Jews, right? People could be the subject of interesting speculation. We shall, however, confine ourselves to the remark that this official conversion is in defiance of Christian posturalizing by Byzantium, okay? The Muslim influence from the West, and in spite of the political pressures of these two powers, to a religion which had no support from any political power, to a religion that had no support from any political power, but was persecuted by nearly all, right? By nearly all, has come as a surprise to all historians concerned with the Chazars and cannot be considered as accidental, but must be regarded as a sign of independent policies pursued by that kingdom, which leaves us only slightly more bewildered than before. Yet, whereas the sources differ in minor detail, the major facts are beyond dispute, meaning you cannot debate or debunk this. The major facts, right? The major facts are beyond dispute. What is in dispute is the fate of the U.S. Chazars. Okay? After the destruction of their empire in the 12th and 13th century, on this problem, the sources are scant. The reason why the sources are scant, because remember I always told y'all they ethnocided themselves to create a new history, right? They had to erase shit. The same shit they did to everybody, right? Burn the libraries, They did that shit to themselves. Right? Phantom Timeline, who started that? Let's keep going. All right, let's keep going. So what is in dispute is the fate of the U.S. Chazars after the destruction of their empire in the 12th and 13th century, right? On this problem, the sources are scant, but various late medieval Chazar settlements are mentioned in the Crimea, in the Ukraine, in Hungary, Poland, and Lithuania. The general picture, right? The general picture that emerges from these fragmentary pieces of information is that of a migration of Chazar tribes and communities into those regions of Eastern Europe, mainly Russia and Poland. Mainly Russia and Poland, huh? All right, mainly Russia and Poland, huh? I bet they had names like Melville Herstovics, Boaz. Huh. Okay. Let's keep going though. So they were at the dawn of the modern age. The greatest concentrations of Jews were found. All right. This had led several historians to conjecture to that of a substantial part, and perhaps the majority of the Eastern Jews, and hence of the world of Uri, might be of Chazar and not Semitic origin. Huh. Remember, these facts can't be disputed. Alright? That far-reaching implications of this hypothesis may explain the great caution exercised by historians in approaching this subject. If they do not avoid it altogether, which is something that they do. Thus, in 1973 edition of the Encyclopedia Judaica, the article Chazar is signed to Dunlap, but there is a separate section dealing with Chazar use after the fall of the kingdom, which I'm gonna have to find it. Signed by the editors and written by the obvious intent to avoid upsetting believers in the dogma of the chosen race. What's happening, Big C? Peace, peace. Shout out to everybody that's in here. And to let y'all know this too, dude with the funny mustache had Sephardic ancestry. Yeah, you could go research that right now. Right? Dude with the funny mustache had Sephardic North African ancestry. He was, man, remember he was a so-called black man. Remember I brought that out to y'all? He was a black man. All through history described him as a black man. Dude with the funny mustache. All right, keep that in mind. So, the Turkish-speaking Karaites, right? The Turkish-speaking Karaites are fundamentalist Jewish sect of the Crimea, Pola, or Poland, and elsewhere. Look at that Poland again, right? And elsewhere have affirmed a connection with the Chazars, which is perhaps confirmed by evidence from folklore and anthropology as well as language. There seems to be a considerable amount of evidence attesting to the continued presence in Europe of descendants of Chazars. Remember, here are the facts that can't be disputed. All right? Was it we know of as the YT dude with the funny mustache that they love to show you in Hollywood movies and stuff, he was an actor. The real dude with the funny mustache was always the black man standing behind the actor. Like the real dude with the funny mustache was also inside of those films. He was the black man standing behind the white actor. That shit crazy, man. That shit crazy. Like you seen him without seeing him. You know what I'm saying? But the real one was also inside the movies. Like them old, I'm talking about them old 1930 movie when he was still alive. He was definitely in them. He would be dressed in the same NACI attire, and he would be standing right next to the white actor that's playing the dude with the funny mustache, but the real one is the black one right there. Mm-hmm. Crimea is Russia, ain't it? Yeah. I think Crimea is Russia, if I'm not mistaken. It should be Russia. Mm-hmm. And then when you go pull him up, he got a different alias, but that alias can't be found nowhere else. But I'm confused. Did he do that on purpose? Did he do what on purpose, Drift? Was that in Plasma in the building? Indigenous Guidance was that in? Correct, was that in? I'm confused on why would he be in the film? Cause he wanted to be so dude with the funny mustache, right? The black one, he wanted to be in the films because he always wanted to be a movie star. That's literally the whole reason. Like um he wasn't hold on y'all. Hold on. Okay, my bad. Mom Dukes was writing. So so here's the crazy thing. When we talk about dude with the funny mustache, the real one, you have to erase everything in your mind that your school, the United States, and movies told you about him. He wasn't like this goddamn. He wasn't like, I'm gonna take over. This he was a regular black man who controlled a country, right? He always wanted to be a movie star because he knew he so when Hollywood was created over here and everybody started getting attached to movies and movie stars, people wanted to be in movies, and he wanted to be in movies too, but by him being who he was, he couldn't be in movies as himself because other people in the world never knew what he looked like. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else around the world never knew what he looked like, right? So, which also plays in propaganding whitewash history. So what Hollywood did was just grab a YT man with the small mustache that we always knew and put him inside the movies about him, right? While the real one just played in the background, right? Which goes into hidden hand, right? Hidden black hand is always hidden in plain sight. And, even though dude with the funny mustache was good, kinda, I ain't gonna say that he was 100% writing good, but you know what I'm saying? He was also part of a hidden hand. A lot of them is part of hidden hands. A lot of them is family that's beefing with each other and related. And that shit crazy over there, right? But he was also part of the hidden hand. And a lot of the hidden hand people is in plain sight in your face. So hopefully that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But he was just in movies because he just wanted to be a movie star, and that was the closest he was gonna get to being a movie star without actually exposing who he was. Yeah. Yeah, keep going though real quick, y'all, because it's about to get deep. So remember what I said, that Turkish speaking, right? These are Turkish speaking Karelites, right? Fundamentalist Jewish Chazar sect of Crimea, Poland, right? What is Yiddish for real? And elsewhere have affirmed a connection with the Chazars, which is perhaps confirmed by evidence from folklore and anthropology as well as language. Okay? There seems to be a considerable amount of evidence attesting to the continued presence in Europe of descendants of Chazars. How important in quantitative terms is that presence of the Caucasian sons of Japhet? Caucasian sons of Japhet, right? Caucasians. That's the real Caucasian. And I do mean real Caucasian. Like we have a habit in calling every single white person we see as a Caucasian, but we will be incorrect to do that. Not every so-called white person is a Caucasian. They all don't come from the Caucasus Mountains. A specific group do. And a specific group fits the characteristics of those who was born in the Caucasus Mountains. Now, all the other so-called white folks, so a lot of their origins, their ancestors probably Hungarian, Georgian, Armenian, you know what I'm saying? They, other type of Slavs in Russia. Shit, some of them might have came from China, There's, Sweden, Switzerland, there's a lot, Netherlands with the Neanderthal, right? The Neanderthal and the Caucasian are two different type of white folks. Don't get it confused. All right. So peep game, peep game, peep game, peep game, Scandinavia, yeah, all of that, So we have to dodge our own hijacks, and we have to understand who's who for real, because these people are behind the psychological colonization that we are under right now. I'm saying this, Sonny, peace, peace. So these are Caucasian sons of Japhet. I'm saying they're two sons. You haven't seen me in forever. That's crazy. That's shit. Blame TikTok. I be live every day. Ain't nothing changed. I be live every day. So these are Caucasian sons of Japhet. Japhet. Not Esau. Japhet. This is what I be trying to tell people, but some of these Israelites is just they stuck in their racist ways in that King James Bible, and they don't pick up a history book. And then other folks just be following off of what they heard another motherfucker said, but they're not Esau, like I've been saying this whole time. They are not Esau. How can these people be Esau when Esau is the twin of Jacob? Did we forget what a twin was? Because it seems like we forgot what a twin is. Esau is literally the twin of Jacob. The word Esau is a descriptive term. He was just red. He was a red bone. Jacob was swarthy, copper colored. Esau was a red bone, a light skinned nigga. That's it. And people read too deep into it. Well, they said he was hairy. Nigga, we got hairy, light-skinned niggas in our community, nigga. Y'all, everybody in black American communities ain't... There's some hairy niggas. You see them hairy niggas. Stop playing. We got hairy, light-skinned people. Yeah, Klay Thompson ass niggas. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was a Gentile. A Gentile just means a person who don't believe what his brother believed, and he was led astray. That's it. It's like you got two brothers. One chose to be a lawyer and a doctor, and the other one chose to be a blood. Nigga. Think like that, because that's what it means. And people read a whole different direction into it, but that's literally what it means. And that's literally the story of real life, right? When you get two brothers, you got one brother that excels and do exceedingly well and all that other stuff. And then you got another brother that be in that street life and shit. Like, yeah, you know, you got one brother police, the other one a dope. Yeah, Cain and Abel, and so we have to stop calling these people Esau. Because that's not who they are. They are the Caucasian sons of Japhet, Gog and Magog. Okay? So I'm just being for real. This the shit that make the Israelites on the corner mad at me. For real. I be saying this shit to them niggas on the corner. They be ready to fight me in the name of Jesus. They'll be like, my brother, get away from this blasphemy before we do something to you. I'm like, God damn, on Yahshua, you gonna hurt me? Nigga, on Yahweh Shah, nigga, I'm gonna do something to you. God damn, nigga, what about the commandments? Nigga, fuck them commandments. Shit. Yeah, stay away from the Israelite camps, nigga. Them niggas don't give a fuck about truth. Them niggas is just racist. Nah, real talk, they don't care about truth. Them niggas is just racist. Them niggas is, any chance they get to call a white person a beast and a devil, they would. They'll do it. That's all they give a fuck about. They don't care about no type of history. They not even reading from the Torah. Niggas is on them niggas on the corner, just aggressive ass Christians is what I call them. That's what I call them. They aggressive Christians. Because if you was a real Sephardi and you come from Judah, you will have a Torah. Ra. Son book, right? You'll have a Torah. You wouldn't have a King James rewritten Bible still trying to. You cannot wake people up with bullshit, right? So get you a Torah and some monastic books. You feel me? That's it, Saint. They just don't like white folks. That's it. They just aggressive Christians that don't like white folks, bro. And most of them still believe that they Africans. Them niggas done caught a plane and went to the Middle East and got stuck over that mall. You know, come on, bro. Stay away from that shit, y'all. You ain't got to put on no purple Power Ranger suit or none of that type of shit. Just keep doing what you doing. Let's keep going. So, the presence of the Caucasian son of Japhet in the tents of Shem, right? One of the most radical proponderers of the hypothesis concerning the Chazar origin of so-called Jewry is the professor of medieval Jewish history at Tel Aviv University in Palak. His book, Chazaria in Hebrew, was published in 1944 in Tel Aviv. Excuse me. And a second edition in 1951. In his introduction, he writes that the facts demand, right? The facts demand. What's that an insightful piece, y'all? Right? The facts demand a new approach, both of the problem of the relations between the Chazar Jewry and other Jewish communities, right? Sephardis, huh? And to the question of how far we can go in regarding this Chazar Jewry as the nucleus of the large Jewish settlement in Eastern Europe. Okay? The descendants of this settlement, those who stayed where they were, those who immigrated with an E, not an I, to the United States. Why would they put immigrate with an E and not an I when they talking about them leaving Europe to the United States? Anybody know? Anybody know? Pop quiz. I ain't give y'all a pop quiz Friday. Anybody know why? Why did they use an E instead of an I when they say they immigrated to the United States? From Europe now. They not from the United States. See, I love definition check, a geography check. Nah, we talking about Chazars. We not talking about us. We talking about Chazars. Why would they use an E instead of an I with the Chazars, leaving Eastern Europe to the United States? Poland, Russia. How close is Russia to America? Where do America and Russia connects at? One means they're going to a new land. The other one means they're moving across their own land. Y'all remember that Siberian population that I broke down to y'all? Y'all remember I told y'all, right? You can't keep calling every Native American a Siberian. You have to research Siberian population. It was a multi-ethnic population. The Siberian population was 85% Slavic, Russian, German, Turkic. It was 10% Mongolian, 5% Indo. That created the Siberian population that came across the land bridge. Now, when you do the math of when they came across the land bridge, it's going to put you inside the time frame that we reading right now. So who really came over here across the land bridge? It was more small hats and Caucasians than it was Mongolian featured people. Which also proves that the Native Americans came later on. But anyways, we ain't talking about them right now. We on Chazaria business, right? So put it together. Put it together. All right. They were exiled. They had kicked out of them motherfuckers. He said, what about South Americans then? What about South Americans? So let's keep going. So those who immigrated with an E, not an I, to the United States and to other countries, and those who went to Israel constitute now the large majority of the world Yuri. Right? World Yuri. You said we don't have Siberian DNA. I don't know who you are, fam. I don't even know what you look like. But anyways, though, so they constitute a large majority of the so-called world Yuri, but they're not the majority. The Sephardic still exists today. They still exist today. The Sephardic still here, but they've been ethnic cleansed, right? They're called Africans and black and shit, right? They've been ethnic cleansed by now. Okay. You said I'm from South America. Shit, I don't mean nothing. There's white people from South America. I don't, when people try to prove who they are, you can't just say you from a region like that means something. There's white people who's from South America. There's white people from South Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you talking about the natives who look Asian, then yes, there are Siberians in South America, and that is a fact. All right. Now, if you are the real indigenous copper-colored people that's been classified as black and colored in history, then you are the indigenous person of that land. But this is not an indigenous live, so you might have to catch me tomorrow or something like that, right? So let's keep it going. More likely, you're probably Siberian and don't know it. But just keep going, though. Just keep going. This ain't we wrong topic. All right, stay on topic. All right, we're talking about Chazars. So they don't constitute the large majority, but for right now, they constitute the large majority of the so-called world's Yuri, right? Eastern Europeans. Okay, what's happening, Pop? Peace, peace. This was written before the full extent of the Holocaust was known, right? This was written before the Holocaust was known. But that does not alter the fact that the large majority of surviving small hats in the world is of Eastern European origin, Chazars, and thus perhaps mainly of Chazar origin. If so, this would mean that their ancestors came not from Jordan, but from Volga. Volga. It's when you say vulgar, a small hat comes into your mind. For real, y'all just say it. Say vulgar. When you say vulgar, it sounds like a small hat place that they will come from, right? Hello, vulgar. Where you from, vulgar? What are you? I'm Jewish. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That shit. So yeah, it fits. Vulgar, right? They didn't come from Jordan or Judah. They're not Judean or Jerusalem. They from Volga, Eastern Europe, right? Not from Canaan, but from Caucasia. I like that. You ain't from Canaan, you from Caucasia, right? Or the Caucasus. Once believed to be the cradle of the Iranian race. Iranian race, huh? What is YT imperialism? And that genetically they were more closely related to the Huns and Magyar tribes than the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who is Israel, aka Israelites. Should this turn out to be the cause or the case, then the term so-called anti-Semitism would become void of meaning. And it is void of meaning once you know the history. The reason why they can get away with this is because majority of the population don't know this history. And if you don't know history, I could pretend to be whoever I want and you gonna go with it, especially if I throw a white face on it. Just because of your ignorance of history, I can get away with a lot of shit. So that's why they can get away with it. Y'all don't know that. And they just coined the term anti-Semitism not that long ago. There was no such word until niggas started catching on to who they was. And then they coined the term, oh, anti-Semitic, oh, they figuring us out, anti-Semitic, counsel them. They counsel them. Just take Kanye West money, make Nick Cannon apologize. You guys are racist? Oh, God. Them niggas start tweaking out in this bitch. You start, come on, man. When you call a demon by his name, they tweak out. When you call a demon by their name, they tweak out. This is one reason why demons stay hidden. Once the world know who these people are, it's a wrap. And then everybody will be questioning, well, if y'all ain't who y'all say y'all are, y'all from this region, then who and where are the real ones? And then it's gonna have to bring everybody back full circle to Black Americans once again. See, we not, like I always said, we're not claiming to be everything in history. Nah. Just because we say somebody was swarthy in Germany, that don't mean that that's us. That's, you know what I'm saying? That nigga was just swarthy. That ain't us. We saying 3 identities that make up our culture and us. And it just so happened to be the mother civilizations of the world. Indian, American Indian, Sephardi, and more. That's all we saying. Y'all can have all the rest of the shit. Y'all niggas can have the Russians, the Swedes, the Neanderthals. Y'all can have the Volgas. Y'all can have Gog, Magog. You niggas can have, the Caucasus region. You niggas can have Saudi Arabia for all the nigga give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? There's all these other different people. You got the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes. You got all these other people in the world. But everybody losing their mind off of 3 identities off of millions. And one has to ask themselves, why? Why are people tweaking out? What is it behind this Indian, Sephardic, and Moorish connection that Black Americans have? Why is it that the small hats follow your ass everywhere you go? Why do they always have to be behind everything you do? Your rappers, 360 contracts, your football players, your basketball players, your civil rights leaders. Why are they, your NAACPs, your Urban League, your HBCUs? Why? What is it about you that you haven't realized about yourself? What is it about your influence of culture that makes these people want to adopt it so bad? You know, these people creating some shit called Jubonics. I swear to you, you can get off my live and research this shit right now. Smile Hats is trying to create some shit called Jubonics, nigga. Or Yiddish Ebonics, nigga. What is it about your Ebonics that they need? Our people haven't even realized that some of your Ebonics are Hebrew words as well as Moorish Arabic words. A lot of y'all names is Hebrew. The little young brother that got unalived them years ago, Tamar Rice, right? Tamar, Hebrew. Tupac got unalived, right? Tupac Amaru, indigenous, huh? Malcolm X got hit up, El Shabazz, Moorish, right? Jeff Fort, political prisoner, locked down, Moorish, right? Larry Hoover, Sephardic, huh? Y'all gotta pay attention, man. Y'all gotta wake up, is all I'm saying. Just keep reading, though. Let's keep reading. All right, let's keep reading. All right. The whole Norman conquest was Norse people. So, I don't know what you talking about. You said, do you think we came from nothingness? What you talking about, inside job? I don't really like your username, for real. So now, yeah. So the Aryan race, and that genetically they are more closely related to Huns, Ogars, and Mayars tribes than the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, aka Israel, Israelites, right? And should this turn out to be the case, which it is, that's why they don't want to do no DNA tests and shit like that, right? Then the term so-called anti-Semitism would become void of meaning based on the misapprehension shared by both the unalivers and their victims. The story of the Chazar Empire, as it slowly keeps emerging from the past, begins to look like the most cruel hoax which history has ever perpetuated. A cruel hoax, right? Shit, that wouldn't be far-fetched. The governments be playing nothing but cruel hoaxes on people, nigga. They got people paying for water. That's a hoax. They got you paying for apples. A cruel hoax, ain't it? They got you believing that you black, you're white. Cruel hoax, huh? These people printing the money, making you work for the money, only for them to tax the money, and you spend the money and send the money back to the very bank that print the money. So therefore your whole life is for free. Well, you slaving for free. That's one of the cruelest hoax, huh? Damn. Who created this system? The monetary system that we have today came from who? Chazars. All right. Right. All right. Peace, peace, Mother Nurture. Glad you can join us. All right. Talk about slavery, right? Let's keep going, though. What's that, Jay? Let's keep going, though. Appreciate that gift. Appreciate that gift. Right? Let's keep going though. So now, the amount of evidence is attesting to continue the presence of the Europe, right? We already broke that down. Boop, 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 boop. Right? So here we are. Here we are. Oh, it's about to get real deep on this page, y'all. Y'all, hey, look, it's gonna get real deep on this page. Y'all might as well go ahead and spark one up or something. I don't know what y'all partake in, but get it in. Here we go. All right. Armenian scribes, whose countries are much older culture, of a much older culture, had been repeatedly devastated by Chazar horsemen. Right, the four horsemen, huh? Right, 1913, 1914 income tax system, right? Came from who? Chazars, right? But listen to what they said, right? Devastated by the Chazar horsemen. Four horsemen? Pestilence? Let's keep going. A Georgian chronicle echoing in ancient tradition identifies them with the host of Gog and Magog. Japhet, Caucasian son Japhet, Gog and Magog. All right? Listen. A Georgian chronicle echoing in ancient tradition identifies them with the host of Gog and Magog, aka wild men. Wild men, huh? With hideous faces in the manners of a wild beast, huh? Eaters of blood. Wild men. Wild beast. Partakers of blood. Now we're going to put a pin in that real quick. Now I can break this down to you. Anybody know what this is? Anybody know what this is? It's German, but it's a German newspaper. All right. This is a German newspaper that was published under dude with the small, dude with the funny mustache regime. Right. He printed this newspaper telling you that they drink blood. That picture, look very close at that picture. I can't blow it up because I'm on TikTok. It's them getting the blood from BABIES. Okay? Dude with the funny mustache been trying to tell people. He been trying to tell people. And guess what? The Chazars are the one that demonized the dude with the funny mustache to you. All right? Now, there's a ritual. Before I get into this, though, now you can start putting two and two together on why there's so many missing children. They say children go missing, every 30 seconds, 20, 30 seconds or something like that, every 5 minutes or something like that. Why your Amber Alert haven't went off all year? Oh, shit, because they created the Amber Alert. Damn. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. But we ain't gonna get in there, right? So there's a ritual that they do. The ritual that I'm referring to is known as the Metzah Pa, which is Hebrew for suction by mouth. It is a traditional part of the Jewish circumcision ceremony, when they're babies, and it's practiced primarily within a certain ultra-Orthodox community. Okay? After the foreskin is removed, the ritual circumciser places their mouth directly on the wound and suction a small amount of blood away. This is not quote unquote drinking, right? In a dietary sense. Right? Peace, peace. What's happening? The practice is mentioned in the Talmud, not in the Torah. This is not in the Torah. This is in the Talmud, the shit that they wrote and created. The Talmud is what they wrote and created. They took little bits of the Torah and they mixed it with their pagan, shamanistic, barbaric debauchery, and they created the Talmud. This is what they go by. Okay? Okay? Exactly. SOYP. Facts. 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 There's another one called Blood Labels Throughout History. Historically, blood levels often took place close to Passover, when so-called Jews were charged with using the blood of Christian children to bake matzahs. The proximity of such charges to Easter was thus also often associated with the continuing belief that Chazars were responsible for the passion and crucifixion of Jesus. Okay? This is why they don't believe in Jesus, or they don't like or say, man, look, we're going to get into it. The blood labels, together with allegations of well poisoning, were a major theme in Jewish persecution in Europe. It was a theme, a major theme. Everybody in Europe kicked these niggas out of their country for this shit right here. Over 109 countries kicked these niggas out for this shit right here. Drinking blood, man, look. All right. Throughout the Middle Ages, in which we're reading, right? Throughout the Middle Ages and into the modern period, they still do it. They were a central component in the development of modern anti-Semitism in the 19th century. Right? Blood labels. All right. Let's get back into it. Just had to break that down so you to get back into it. Oh, shit. Right? So Gog and Magog, wild men with hideous faces and the manners of a wild beast, eaters of blood, right? They all, and the crazy thing is, y'all sit down next to a lot of these niggas in restaurants. Yes, I like to have a steak. How would you like that steak cooked? Rare. How would you like your steak cooked, ma'am? Medium rare. The fuck? Yeah, leave a little blood in there for me. The fuck wrong with this nigga? How would you like yours done, man? Cook my shit well done. I don't know what the fuck they on. Yeah, I don't want no one get all that shit up out of there, nigga. Well done. You did. And guess what? You know who else is called? Nah, I'll say that for another live. I connect all that in another live. Flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, huh? Vampires. Now you starting to understand where the vampire story is at. Like Swarthy mentioned yesterday on live. Count Dracula, Vlad, Small hat. Think about where Vlad, Count Dracula, is from. Think about that region. Why is a lot of small hat people named Vlad? Like Vlad TV, who is a small hat. Most of them got the name Vlad. Put two and two together of the vampire movies. Nah, they not Dracos. Dracos is a dragon. Dragons are Nagas. We the Draco. They the parasite. That's why they drink blood. They leeches. They parasites. We the Dracos. We the Nagas. Nah, they not Dracos. I don't have to look deeper. I done already looked deep enough. A parasite can't be a dragon. They flipped history around on you. They flipped a lot of shit around on you. They the ones that created the whole narrative that the serpent and the dragon was bad and all of that other shit, right? It's the opposite. Oh, we gonna get there, Kobe. Stop reading ahead, man. So let's keep going. So an Armenian writer refers to, quote, the horrible multitude of Chazars with insolent, broad, lashless faces and long fallen hair like women, unquote. Lastly, the Arab geographer Eskatkari, one of the main Arab sources, has this to say, quote, the Khazars do not resemble the Turks. They don't resemble the Turks. They are black-haired and are of two kinds. One called the Karta Khazars, which is black Chazars who are swarthy, verging on deep black skin complexion, as if they were a kind of Indian. What Indian? What kind of Indian? How many of y'all knew that there were black small hats? Anybody ever knew that? Anybody ever knew that there were black small hats running around? Everybody's so used to seeing the YT one. Nobody ever asked about the black Chazars. Where they at? Where they at? What do they look like? You definitely have to ask what they look like, because we all been brainwashed to think that all black people come from Africa. We all look the same, and black this and black that and black power. Oh, all that bullshit. It's the reason why the hidden hand can hide real good. I promise you, the whole reason why they push that black shit and every dark-skinned person from Africa and all that shit like that is so the hidden hand can hide in plain sight. Because now you so racist that you focus on anybody with pale skin and straight hair. You ain't even think about melanated people, not a bit. And I know that for a fact. I've been on this app for 6 years, been on Facebook for 10, and I've been in real life for 36 years, nigga. All my life, you know, the white man this, the white man that, the white man, the white small hats. It's just white everything with you niggas. And as soon as somebody be like, bro, you know, there's some black niggas doing this shit too, you hate yourself, my brother. You trying to defend the white man. The fuck that got to do with what I just said, bro? You have to ask yourself, who is stopping the progression of melanated people? Because not all melanated people want the progression of melanated people. Who's keeping the black American stagnated? Why have we had so many bullshit leaders, quote unquote leaders in the communities that ain't never did shit? It's easy for a melanated Chazar to infiltrate the community. You racist right now. It's easy for them to infiltrate you right now. You racist as fuck. Colorist and shit. They got you. A white Chazar cannot infiltrate a melanated community. We stop white folks at the door. Hey, who you know over here, bro? Hey, who you came over here to see? Hold on, that nigga ain't from this neighborhood. What you got business doing over here? What's up? Right? A nigga can't infiltrate us, but their black counterparts can. And when they said that they look like an Indian, they're definitely talking about American Indians. They look like us. We talking about 700 AD, 1400s, 1940. America was still called India. And Indians were still Indians, and they were still Hindustans. Them niggas look like you. There's a lot of people that look like you, but ain't you out here. And there's some motherfuckers that don't look like you. But these niggas right here, they look like you. Your black Chazars become your black British later on in history, right? Black Anglo-Saxons, Germanic tribes, conquering, taking over, Chazars, right? Ooh, they become your black British later on in history. And black British look just like you, sound like you, talk like you, walk like you. They hate your guts. I'm telling you, it's all connected. You just got to start at the beginning and start untangling shit. This is why we started off with the origins of the Anglo-Saxons. Then we went to the ancient and modern Britons, just so I could get it in y'all mind that these are swarthy people at this time, right? Pale skin and straight hair wasn't really a thing like that, only in certain regions at a time. But a lot of these people is mostly melanated. Some look like you, some don't look like you. Some look African. A lot of people you be calling Africans are actually black Caucasians. For real, go pull up black Caucasians. They look just like Africans. There's only two types of melanated phenotypes. Us and the African. Now, anything else dealing with Dravidians and black Hindus with straight hair, those are hybridized people. They come later. When you talk about the Aboriginal Australoid and you like, no, they dark with straight hair, they came later. The original was the Tasmanian. A lot of these people, come on, man. You got us. My bad, not two. There's three. My fault. You got us, black Americans who are Afro-Asiatic in nature. Then you have the African phenotype, all right? And then you have the black Grecian phenotype. And the black Grecian is the black Greek. Their phenotype is more of an Ethiopian, Somalian, right? Like their skin complexion is like a sand brown with loose curly hair, sometimes straight hair phenotype. You know what I'm saying? Well, we'll get into it. 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 He said that's the pump fake. So let's keep going. So there's two type of Chazars. We got the Kara Chazars, which is the black Chazars who are swarthy, verging to deep black, as if they were some kind of Indian. And a white kind, the Ak Chazar, who are strikingly so-called handsome, right? This is more flattering, but only adds to the confusion. For it was customary among Turkish people to listen to where your statuses come from today. It was customary among Turkish-ish people to refer to the ruling classes or clans as white. This is the beginning of your race classification. Listen. The ruling classes were known as white, and to the lower strata as black. Thus, there is no reason to believe that the white burglars were whiter than the black burglars, right? Whiter, right? But you just broke down what it was, right? And that the white Huns who were invading India and Persia in the 5th and 6th centuries were of a fairer skin than the other Hun tribes which invaded Europe. As Karates, black-skinned Chazars, as much else in his colleagues' writings. They were based on hearsay and legend, and we are none the wiser regarding the Chazars' physical appearance and their ethnic origins. The last question can only be answered in a vague and general way, but it is equally frustrating to inquire into the origins of the Huns, the Alans, the Avars, the burglars, the Megars, the Bashkirs, the Bertas, the Sibirs, the Ogars, the Saragirs, the Onagers, the Otagers, the Kurtagers, the Tarnaks or Taniaks, the Kabars, the Zabenders, the Peachnegs, the Gaz, the Kumans, the Kapshiks, and dozens of other tribes of people who at one time or another in a lifetime of the Chazar kingdom passed through the turnstiles of those migratory playgrounds. Even the Huns, of whom we know much more, are of a certain origin, and their name apparently derived from the Chinese Hong Nu, in which designates warlike nomads in general, while other nations applied the name Hun in a similarly indiscriminate way to nomadic herds of all kinds, including the white Huns mentioned above, the Sabars, the Magyars, and the Chazars. It kind of makes you think about Genghis Khan, like the Mongols versus the Huns. And if the Chazars is part of this Huns, this warlike nomadic people, what if Genghis Khan was trying to stop them niggas too? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What if Genghis Khan was trying to stop these niggas too? Right? He was a real life Thanos. He was trying to stop all corruption. It's facts. And Genghis Khan or Temujin, he was Muslim. He was Islamic. He was considered a so-called Moor. And we're reading that the Chazars and the Muslims were beefing. Keep that in mind. Was Genghis Khan really bad? You gotta remember who's telling you the story now. Okay? So let's dive into chapter 2 real quick, because this is nothing but just the introduction of what next week is going to be about, right? You know, on the weekends, we have recaps and introductions to next week's lives, right? So next week, we're going to be breaking down the Chazar Empire. We also going to break down the war on the Sephardic Jews during the Roman Empire of 1 AD, and the creation of Jesus. So we pretty much kind of going to dive back into Thoth a little bit. Excuse me. And we're going to put all of this shit together as a puzzle piece. And then once we get this together, then we can dive back into colonial history with the Cajuns, the Creoles, the American Indians, the Sephardics, the Moors. And we can really start seeing why this exile and who was doing it. All right. And then all this is going to lead us into 1900s, where we start breaking down when the United States started getting infiltrated governmental wise. So peak game, man. Peak game. Peak game. Peak game. You say, what about Mansa Musa? What about Mansa Musa, big dog? That's another fact drift. Genghis Khan never forced people to become Islamic or Muslim. Yeah, I seen that Lego video. The only reason why Iran is trying to tell the truth now is because the veil been lifted. That's the only reason why, because the veil been lifted. That's the only reason why a lot of these European countries are starting to tell the truth slowly and surely, because the veil being lifted. These niggas had over 100 years to tell niggas the fucking truth, and they didn't. They did business with these niggas. So the only reason why they trying to tell the truth now is because of karmic retribution. They trying to right their wrongs and erase their sins. That's the only reason. Yeah, Putin and all them. The niggas could have been showed us the Black Madonna 100 years ago. Like real shit. But it ain't up to us no more. It's up to the universe. Genghis Khan is Mongolian? Yeah. Mongolian back then doesn't mean what it means today. The word Mongolian is a descriptive term for people that have Asiatic features. That's all that means. That's literally what it means. Mongolian, and it comes from mongrel, meaning mixed. So it ain't what people think it is. And then you got to remember where the Mongolian spot began at in the first place. We Black Americans are the progenitors and the primary carriers of the Mongolian spot. Remember, this is Asia Major. The birth of a lot of Asiatic people came from America. They came from us. You said explain how we Asiatics, because America is India Superior. India is inside of Asia. This is Asia Major. Over there is Asia Minor. Everything about our customs and traditions is Asiatic in nature. You know, Negro Buddha fountain in Canada. You know, all the meditation that you do, all the frankincense, the sage, you know, your almond eyes, your high cheekbones, everything about you is Asiatic. We are the Asiatics. The original people are antediluvian so-called Asiatic people. So this is why when that Asian scientist did the DNA test, he was like, we came from so-called Africans. You got to read between the lines when they say that. They came from so-called African Americans. So that's why I said that we, you know what I'm saying, like, that's why I kind of been telling people, like, stop calling Native Americans Siberians or Mongolians and shit like that, because technically, historically, they're not. They're more closely related to the small hat people and Armenians and shit than they are of Mongolia. And those people that's in Mongolia today migrated there. They're not originally from there. The original Mongols look just like us. And they used to call you that way back in like Jim Crow days and shit. Get out of here, you mongrel. Yeah, they used to call you that shit too. Right? They used to call you Sambo, which is an Asiatic deity. You feel me? They used to call you a mongrel, which Mongolian or, you know, half breed, mixed breed, or whatever that crazy shit is. You know what I'm saying? So we'll break down their origins, because the Native Americans are hybridized people. They are a creation of three nations coming together and giving birth to children, which later becomes so-called Native Americans or your First Nations. And one of their ancestors are East Asians, who are melanated people, right? Another one of their ancestors is Caucasians, right? Neanderthals and shit. That's where they get the white and the pale and the straight hair from. And then later on, you get Chazars and Turks. They are a mixture of Japhet and Ham. Bingo. Bingo. They are a mixture of Japhet and Ham. Exactly. You seen some older natives that are your complexion? Yeah. The older, the further back you go in Native Americans' ancestry, the darker their ancestors get. The pale skin, straight hair Native American you see today is a recent kind of a thing that popped up on the scene. But the further back you go in a lot of people's ancestry, the darker the ancestors get. That's why I just call them albinos, honestly, because that's technically what they are. There's seven different types of albinism. Most people only know about one. They ain't albinos, they ain't pale skin, blonde hair, red eye. That's only one type, and you've only seen one type in your life. Well, technically, you've seen all seven, but you didn't know that you was looking at what you was looking at. So you only know about one, but these technically they're albinos. They're the albino version of the melanated ones. Mm-hmm. Yep. What about Scottish? Their declaration was written in Hebrew and speaks similar to Jamaicans. Yeah, a lot of Jamaicans got Scottish ancestry, or the Scots. You know, Ireland as well too. You know, the Scots come from Chaldeans. Chaldeans are one of the progenitors of what we call Israelites today. You know what I'm saying? You know, they all started off as melanated people. So when you talk about, so when you looking at pale skinned Scots with red hair and freckles and shit like that, you're looking at the albino version of the melanated Scots and Ireland people. Like real shit. That's what you're looking at. Or the lighter skinned version of those folks. The melanin or the ginger hair and the freckles in their face is melanin. Right? They did a number on Black Americans and Irish people a long time ago to separate us, because at one time we fought together and we was real, click tight. But just as a history too, and you can go research it, there's a lot of so-called white Scots in Ireland that's ginger, and they can grow afros and shit. It's a lot of them over there with afros, ginger afros and shit. That shit's crazy. And they'll never show you these people. That's why you got to go look at it yourself. Right? When you type in Ireland and Scottish people, you get the same default white person. You know what I'm saying? But when you do your research and go in there type shit, you'll see they pale skin, ginger afros. Some of them got freckles on their face. Some of them tall. Some of them got the phenotype that look just like us, jawbones, almond eyes, etc., etc. So, but these people separated folks to cause a division amongst everybody else so they can control every nation. Every nation is being controlled by division, divide and conquer, right? At one time, we all fought together against these people, and they knew that they had to divide us. That's the only way that they could win. So this is why they pushed racism and colorism and pseudo history about out of Africa and all this other stuff. They created all that shit. Mm-hmm. Let's read this real quick. You said Prince Harry? Yeah, Prince Harry come from a melanated Irish background. That's why I said earlier that not all so-called white people are the same. Even they know the difference. You got white folks that descend from Neanderthals. You got white folks that descend from the Caucasus Mountains. You got white folks that come from Ireland originally. They come from the melanated versions of themselves that was there. Yeah, it's a fact. And when I say Neanderthals, I'm saying people that is from the Netherlands. I'm not saying that ape shit that they promote to you. Because I haven't seen a monkey turn into a white or black man, right? And I know that the small hats created the out of Africa theory and the hominids and monkey and shit, right? Because they look at you as a beast. Remember we read the Talmud yesterday and I broke it down to you? They look at you, Goyim, as beast and animal. So this is why they say that y'all came from fucking monkeys. They never said they did. They said y'all came from monkeys and shit. You know what I'm saying? Now peep the game. Peep the game. Yeah. So, but let's keep going real quick. So now we in chapter 2 with the conversion. All right, just a little drop on the conversion. The religion of Hebrews, right? The real ones, right? The religion of the Hebrews, writes Bury, quote, had exercised a profound influence on the creed of Islam, and it had been a basis for Christianity. It had won scattered proselytes, but the conversion of the Chazars to the undiluted religion of Jehovah is unique in history, right? It's unique in history, right? The undiluted religion of Jehovah. Okay. What was the motivation of this unique event? It is not easy to get under the skin of a Chazar prince covered, as it was by a coat of mail. But if we reason in terms of power politics, which obeys essentially the same rules throughout the ages, a fairly plausible analogy offers itself. Peace, peace, original Haley. At the beginning of the 8th century now, the reason why I'm putting emphasis on the 8th century is because the Sephardic Jews and the Moors had already been conquered by the Romans or the Roman Empire, right? And they have been ethnic cleansed into a new category. So from the 8th century to the rest of history, they're not known as Sephardic Jews and Moors no more. They are called Africans or Alfricans, Alfricas, right? Afar people. Okay. All right, P guys, I want to throw that in there. So in the 8th century, the world was polarized between the two superpowers representing Christianity and Islam. All right. Two superpowers, Christianity and Islam. Their ideological doctrines were wielded to power politics, persuaded by the classical methods of propaganda. The classical methods of propaganda, right? Subversion and military conquest, which sounds familiar in 2026, right? You know, when niggas go to war, the propaganda, subversion, military conquest, peep game, right? Anyways, the Chazar Empire represented a third force, which had proved equal in either of them, both as an adversary, Satan, and as an ally. But it could only maintain its independence by accepting neither Christianity or Islam, right? For either choice would have automatically subordinated it to the authority of the Roman Empire, Holy Roman Empire, Christianity, right? Or the Caliphate of Baghdad, right? There had been no lack of efforts by either court to convert the Chazars to Christianity or Islam, but all they resulted in was the exchange of diplomatic courtes, right? Dynastic intermarriages and shifting military alliances based on mutual self-interest. Relying on its military strength, the Chazar kingdom, with the hinterland of vassal tribes, was determined to preserve its position as the third force, leader of the uncommitted nations of the steppes. All right, third position, right? Which is what you have today, right? In 2026, it's Christianity, Islam, all right, so-called Judaism, right? Ashkenazi, right? 3. Okay. Catholics is under the Christians. Okay. So at the same time, their intermediate or immediate contacts with Byzantine, right, Holy Roman Empire, and the Caliphate had taught the Chazars that their primitive shamanism was not only barbaric but outdated compared to the great monotheistic creed, right? But also unable to confer on the leaders of the spiritual and legal authority which the rulers of the two theocratic world powers and the Caliphate and the Emperor enjoyed. You see what's going on? All right. So the version of either creed would have meant submission, the end of independence, right? So they telling you that if the Chazars would have became Christian or Islamic, it would have mean that they would have to submit and be subordinated under them, and their independence would have came to an end. So thus would have defeated its purpose. What could have been more logical than to embrace a third creed, which was uncommitted towards either of the two, yet represented the venerable foundation of both? Somebody got a wise idea, right? The king up there talking about like, bro, I ain't trying to make us Christians, y'all. And I ain't really trying to get down with the Islams. You feel me? Because that would destroy our empire, our independence that we worked so hard for. Man, we got to come up with something. And then his right-hand man, who probably be digging into them libraries, came to him and was like, hey, why don't we be Judaic? I heard this, I read this thing about Judaism and Torahs and stuff. And this is where both of those religions actually stem from. So why not be or convert to the so-called creed that the Christian and Islamic creed descend from, which will put us at the head? That is a good ass idea. See, this is why you my right hand man. This is why I got you in those libraries. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Exactly, Kataba. That was their original spirituality before they became Judaism. That was their original one before they became Judaism. Right? He said the old way was Mayat. Mayat and Judaism is the same thing. Original, real Judaism is the same thing. It's all a Gnostic and esoteric and hermetics. All right. So they was like, okay, cool. We gonna do that then. And this is the beginning. Military head, that's now the president and leader. Oh, So now, foundation of both. The apparent logic of the decision is, of course, due to the deception or the deceptive clarity of hindsight. In reality, the conversion to Judaism required an act of genius. Why did the conversion of Judaism require an act of genius? What did you have to be genius about if you wanted to convert to this? Like, why would you have to come up with a genius plan to convert to this? For control. But what is it about the Sephardics, right? Because you would have to convert to Judaism through the Sephardic Jews, right? The real people. So what would you have to do? An act of genius. How can we get these people, the Sephardics, to accept us? Keep that in mind. Yet, both the Arab and Hebrew sources on the history of the conversion. So these people, every time we talk about this shit, these folk be talking about it's false, it's pseudo. But how is this conversion pseudo when it's inside the Hebrew sources itself? Aren't you guys not Hebrews? But it's inside the Arab and Hebrew sources itself on the history of the conversion. However, varied in detail, point to a line of reasoning as indicated above. To quote Bury once more, quote, there can be no question that the ruler was actuated by political motives in adopting Judaism, right? Political motives. All right. To embrace Mohammedanism would have made him the spiritual dependent on the caliphs, who attempted to press their faith on the Chazars. And in Christianity lay the danger of this becoming an ecclesiastical vessel of the Holy Roman Empire. So Judaism was a reputable religion with sacred books, which both Christians and Mohammedans respected. Why did the Christians and Mohammedans respected the sacred books of the real Judaism? Because those books contain hermetics. The book of Thah, right? Torah, the laws of Mayat, their antediluvian knowledge. This is why they had to use an act of genius to get inside. Because the Sephardites, preferably the tribe of Judah or Jude, they were scribes and protectors of knowledge and wisdom. They was like, nah, bro, like this shit is bloodline only type shit. You know what I'm saying? Colors only. You feel me? So it would be hard to even try to be accepted into something like that was only for family. So they had to think about an act of genius to do this. Let's keep going though. So the Mohammedans respected it. It elevated, or my bad. Oh man. It elevated him above the heathen barbarians and secured him against the interference of the caliphates or the emperor, right? But he did not attempt, along with circumcision, intolerance of the Jewish cult. He allowed the mass of his people to abide in their heathendom and worship their idols. Though the Chazar court's conversion was no doubt politically motivated, right? Politically. They only converted politically. So that means they still do their original debauchery, barbaric culture. Only politically they're Judaic, which is a difference. It would still be absurd to imagine that they embraced overnight, blindly, a religion whose tenets were unknown to them. Their tenets was unknown to them. In fact, however, they had been well acquainted with the Sephardic Jews, because there's Sephardic Jews in Germany right now with the Moors, remember? Okay. In their religious observance for at least a century before the conversion, though the continued influx of refugees from religious persecution in the Byzantine Empire, who's persecuting Sephardic Jews at this time, and to a lesser extent from countries in Asia Minor, conquered by the Arabs, We know that Chazaria was a relatively civilized country among the barbarians of the north, yet not committed to either of the militant creed, and so it became a natural haven for the periodic exodus of Sephardic Jews under the Byzantine rule. How did the Sephardic Jews ended up in Chazaria in the first place? They were enslaved by the Byzantine Empire, and they was shipped and traded to these places. Appreciate that, appreciate that. The word Saxon, right? This is what I was going to tell you. So when we talk about Anglo-Saxons, Saxon, they're Germanic by birth, but they're not Germanic by blood. The Saxons, the word Saxon means the son of Isaac. Let me say that again. Saxons mean sons of Isaac. So you had Sephardics in Germany already because of the exile that they went through when they was fighting the Byzantine and the Holy Roman Empire in the Iberia and in North Africa. When they was conquered, right? And we know that the Byzantine Empire isn't the real holy, right? These Byzantine monks and Holy Roman Empire, you know, you dealing with kind of the same shit as Chazars, right? They're Turks, they're Armenians, they're Georgians, there's some people from Chazaria. You got, you know, it's Germans, like you Slavs, like you got all them in one big ass confederate starting to invade and conquer other people's lands, right? They're leaving Germany and shit and conquering the British Isles, Ireland with St. Patrick and all of them. Woo, woo. But they're doing it under the religion of so-called Christianity for some of them doing it under the name of so-called Islam a little bit, but not for real. Those are the renegade Islamic people, those who was converted to Islam. Let me say that. And then you got the Chazars who still looking for an identity to go under so they can become the third political power. You see what I'm saying? Do any of that make sense? Just want to make sure. All right. Santa Sharonda. Peace, peace. So they still hiding under identities, but they are still the same people with the same motive. When you could say, yeah. You could say that. That's facts, Joe. That's facts. That's facts. Eastern Orthodox. So let's keep going. Just want to break that down. So they was already acquainted with Sephardic Jews anyways, because of the Byzantines and the Holy Roman Empire, right? For a periodic exodus of the Sephardic Jews under the Byzantine rule, threatened by forced conversion, right? And other pressures, right? Because what was going on during the exodus of the Sephardic Jews, during the Byzantine and the Roman and all of that, right? The Holy Roman Empire, right? They was trying to force the Sephardics to become Christian Serapis worshipers, right? Remember we covered that? They was trying to convert the Sephardic Jews to be Serapis worshipers, right? Christians, right? That was going on. That's why they said forced conversions, right? It was to Christianity. They wanted them to be Serapis worshipers, right? Holy Roman Empire, Constantine and all them, right? And other pressures. Persecution in various forms had started with Justinian the First in 527 and 565, and pursued particularly vicious forms under Heraclius in the 5th century, and Leo III, aka one of the Leo Africanus people, right? Holy Roman Empire, right? Leo III in the 8th, Basil, and Leo in the 9th, Romanus in the 10th. Thus, Leo III, who ruled during 2 decades, immediately preceded the Chazar conversion to Judaism. So who initiated the immediate proceedings? Leo III, right? The Holy Roman Emperors immediately preceded the Chazar conversions to Judaism. Why? Because the Holy Roman Empire already had the real Sephardics in captivity, and they had all their books. Remember when they was enslaving and exiting the real Sephardic Jews, and they was grabbing all the Torahs and all the books and burning down the libraries of Alexandria and all of that type of shit, right? They had the information already, and they gave it to the Chazars. They gave it to the Chazars. All right, they gave it to them. In an attempt to end the anomaly of the tolerated status of Jews at one blow by ordering all his Jewish subjects to be baptized. Okay. Peep gang. Yep. CPO Africanus, Leo Africanus, the Africanus, Holy Roman Emperor family. Right, the Flavius Josephus family, right? The Flavius family, the Africanus family, the Caesar family, all of them. Yeah, America is Asia Major, the real old world. All right. So although the implementations of the order seem to have been rather ineffective, it led to the flight of a considerable number of so-called Jews from Byzantium. Excuse me. In this city, Chazarian Etil are Muslims, right? Listen, in this city, Chazarian Etil are Muslims, Christians, Jews, and pagans. Who's the pagans? The Jews are the king, his attendants, and the Chazars of his kind. Right? The Jews are the king, his attendants, and the Chazars, right, of his kind. The king of the Chazars had already became a Jew. Right? The king of the Chazars already converted, right? In the caliphate of Harun al-Rashid or Rashad. And he was joined by Jews from all lands of Islam and from the country of the Greeks, Byzantium. Okay? Indeed, the king of the Greeks at the present time, the year of the Chazaria, 332, right, 943 AD, has converted it, the Jews in his kingdom to Christianity by coercion. All right, you see what's going on here? The real Jews is being converted to Christianity, and their identity is being given to the Chazars simultaneously. Who's doing this? The Byzantine and Holy Roman Empire, right? What's happening, Coop? Peace. You see what's going on? The king had already converted. All right. So thus, many Jews took flight from the country of the Greeks to Chazaria, right? Many of the Sephardic Jews took flight from the country of Greeks to Chazaria. That's how they ended up in Chazaria in the first place, trying to run from persecution like always, right? Thus, last two sentences quoted refer to events 200 years after the Khazar conversion, all right? And shows how presently persistently, the waves of persecution followed each other over the country or over the centuries, right? They talk about the persecution of the Sephardic Jews, right? These are still Khazars at the time. We talk about the persecution of Sephardic Jews for many centuries. But the Jews are equally persistent. Many endured torture, and those who did not have the strength to resist returned later on their own faith, like dogs to their vomit, unquote, as one of the Christian chroniclers gracefully put it. Equally picturesque is the description of a Hebrew writer of one method of forced conversion used under the Emperor Brazil against the Jewish community of Chazaria in southern Italy. These are Sephardics. Southern Italy, right? El Negros, right? Remember who was in southern Italy? Don't forget the Sephardic history we've been learning. Who's persecuting these Sephardics in southern Italy? The Emperor Basil, right? How did they force the Sephardics to convert to Christianity? Anyone refusing to accept their erroneous belief was placed in an olive mill under a wooden press and squeezed in the way olives are squeezed in the mill. Mm, mm. There you go, Kataba. You remember the definition, right? That's the definition of mulatto, right? To convert indigenous to Christianity. That's what we read about yesterday. AKA muli in Italy. You muli? You mulatto? Yeah. But listen to how they forcefully converted these people. They would took them and put them in an olive mill under a wooden press and squeeze the way you squeeze an olive in a mill. Another Hebrew source remarks on the persecution under the Emperor Romanus, the quote-unquote Greek king to whom Masudi or the Masudi refers, quote, and afterwards they will arise a king who will persecute them, not by destruction, but mercifully by driving them out of countries, unquote. The only mercy shown by history to those who took flight or were driven out too was the existence of Chazaria, both before and after the conversion. Before it was a refuge haven, after it became a kind of national home. The refugees were products of a superior culture and were no doubt an important factor in creating that cosmopolitan, tolerant outlook on which so impressed. Mm, 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 mm. All right, what's happening, mad facts? Mm-mm. Right. Y'all with me? Everything good? Mic check 1 2 1 2. We smooth. We good. We straight. Appreciate the gifts, y'all. Appreciate the gifts. Thank y'all for the love and support. I'm glad y'all in here rocking out with me. I've been wanting to bring this information out to y'all for years. Because this is one of the missing puzzle pieces. All right. So let's keep going though. So a type of script then of the Roman script, not considering it is specifically you-ish. All right. You-ish, right? Notice how they swap in between the two, right? In one sentence, they say use. The other sentence, they say you-ish. All right. See, you, Safford I, you-ish, small hat, Chazars, right? Peep game. Now, real quick. Nah, I'll say that for later. So thus, while the conversion was no doubt inspired by opportunistic motives, right? The conversion was no doubt inspired by opportunistic motives, conceived as a cunning political maneuver. This was just only political. They don't really care for real. That's why they still do their own debauchery of blood drinking and shit like that, right? Peep gang. So it brought in its wake cultural developments, right? It brought in its wake cultural developments, which could hardly have been foreseen by those who started it. The Hebrew alphabet was the beginning. 3 countries later, the decline of the Chazar static is marked by repeated outbreaks of a messianic or a messianic Zionism, right? Zionism. Listen to what they're saying. They said 3 countries later, the decline of the Chazar state is marked by repeated outbreaks of a what? All right, Zionism, with pseudo messiahs, fake messiahs, right? Like David Elroy, hero of a novel of Disraeli, leading Quakerdox crusades for the reconquest of Jerusalem. The reconquest of Jerusalem. Now, I got that highlighted because if you fast forward it to so-called Christopher Columbus story, Christopher Columbus was going to take back Jerusalem. Another name for his voyage for coming to America was called Taking Back New Jerusalem. And he was coming to America. And who funded the Converso Portuguese sellout? Chazars. They always knew who you was and where the Holy Land was. That shit that they showing you in the Middle East is a distraction. It's a distraction. That's why all of them is over here. Well, majority of them is over here. There's more little hat people in, you got United States, Austria, England, and they still hiding in Germany. So that's why I highlighted the reconquest or reconquista. Right, New Jerusalem. He was looking for New Jerusalem, right? All right, peak game. So after the defeat of the Arabs in 737, the Khagans' forced adoption of Islam had been formally almost instantly revoked, which apparently left no impression on his people. In contrast to this, the voluntary conversion to Judaism was to produce deep and lasting effects. Do you know who the feet? Do you know the people whose feet the Pope kissed? Yeah, those was black Chazars in your face. The black Chazars, black Caucasians, Holy Roman Empire people. So number 2, the circumstances of the conversion are obscured by legend, but the principal Arab and Hebrew accounts itself of it have some basic features in common. Al-Masudi's account of the Jewish rule in Chazaria, quoted early on, ended with the reference to a previous work of his, in which he gave a description of those circumstances. That previous work of Masudi's is lost, but there exist 2 accounts which are based on the lost book. The first, by Damaski, written in 1327, reiterates that at the time of Harun al-Rashid, the Byzantine emperor forced the Sephardic Jews to immigrate. These immigrants came to the Chazar country. Okay, listen. The emperor forced Sephardic Jews, the real ones, El Negros, right, to immigrate to the Chazarian country, where they found quote, an intelligent but uneducated race to whom they offered their religion. The natives found it better than their own and adopted it. What natives? The natives of Chazaria. And they adopted it. The second is much more detailed account in the Al-Bakari's book, Book of Kingdoms in Rhodes, 11th century, which I'm going to go get for y'all. The reason for the conversion of Judaism of the king of the Khazars, who had previously been a pagan, debauchery, blood drinking, right? Pagan, is as follows. He had adopted it Christianity at first, and then he recognized the falsehoods in the Serapis worship. See what I'm saying? So he was like, yeah, we'll be Christians. And then they got in and he was like, nah, we good. You know, I can't fuck with that. You feel what I'm saying? So he rejected it after that. So, in which greatly worried him with one of the high officials. The latter said to him, O king, those in possessions of sacred scriptures fall into three groups. Summon them and ask them to state their case. So the king of the Chazarians are trying to figure out what direction they're going to go. So just like I said, you know, the scribe, one of his scribes was like, hey, man, you know, there's three groups of sacred scriptures. You just bring them in here, right? You know, so-called Christians, the Islam, and Sephardic Jews. Okay? Summon them in and ask them to state their case. All right? Somebody in love outside. Okay. Boy, that boy about to go pull up on something, boy. He ain't playing out here. It's 2 o'clock Saturday. He about to go pull up. They're about to pull up on something. Sound like marriage. It said sound like marriage. I'ma do it. Get married, psych, and then you get penalized. Yep, King Bulan. Exactly, Genius Music. King Bulan, the first, the king of the Khazars, King Bulan. All right, let's keep going. So he sent to the Christians for a bishop. Now there was with the king of a Jew, skilled in argument, who engaged him in disputation. He asked the bishop, quote, what do you say of Moses, son of Amram, and the Torah, which was revealed to him? The bishop replied, quote, Moses is a prophet, and the Torah speaks the truth, unquote. Then the Jew, right, the Sephardic Jew, said to the king, right, king of the Chazars, he has already admitted the truth of my creed. Ask him now what he believes in, unquote. So the king of the Chazars asked him, and he replied, quote, I say that Jesus, the Messiah, is the son of Mary. He is the word, and he has revealed the mysteries of the name in the name of God, unquote. Then the Sephardic Jew said to the king of the Chazars, right? He preached a doctrine which I know not. God damn. Threw my nigga under the bus. Whoo, he threw him under the bus. He was like, bro, I don't know what the fuck he talking about. Whoo, that was the Christian. The Serapis worship. That boy said Jesus. Remember at that time, man, the Roman invention of Jesus. Christianity, Flavius Josephus. Remember it. It's that time. The Sephardics, who have the scriptures of the Torah, ain't no name of Jesus is in that thing. So he was like, I don't know what the fuck he talking about. Jesus. What is this Jesus guy you talking about? Right? Right? So he was like, shit, man, check it. He preaches a doctrine which I know not, while he accepts my propositions, unquote. but the bishop was not strong in producing evidence. Then the king of the Chazars asked for a Muslim. They sent him a scholarly, clever man who was good in arguments or debates, right? Because that's what they're doing, debating right now, right? Arguments, debates, right? But the Sephardic Jew hired someone to poison him on the journey, and he passed. God damn. Woo, hold on. Woo, that's deep. But the Sephardi hired someone to poison him on the journey, and he unalived. And the Sephardic youth succeeded in winning the king for his faith, so that he embraced Judaism. The Arab historians certainly had a gift for sugaring the pill, right? So we're going to dodge that whole, the Sephardic Jew poisoning him on the journey, right? You know, the Arab historians, right? I'm talking about the same ones that made the Egyptians white, right? The Arab historians certainly had a gift for sugaring the pill, right? There's a lot of people in the hood that be sugaring stories for you, right? I got jumped by 10 niggas. It was only 2 of them, right? Sugaring the pill, all right? And it had the Muslim scholar been able to participate in the debate, he would have fallen into the same trap as the bishop of the Christians. For both accepted the truth of the Old Testament, the Torah, wherein the upholders of the New Testament and of the Quran were each outvoted to the one. Right? The king's approval of this reasoning is symbolic. He is only willing to accept doctrines which are shared by all three. Their common denominator, and refuses to commit himself to any of the rival claims which go beyond that. It is once more the principle of the uncommitted world applied to theology. The story also implies, as Burry has pointed out, that the Jewish influence at the Khazar court must already have been strong before the formal conversion anyways, right? Because remember, the Sephardic Jews was being sent to Chazaria for hundreds of years. So Judaism influence was already strong anyway in Chazaria. They just wasn't Judaic yet. They were still with the debauchery. They were still with the shits. And they still are with the shits, okay? So before the formal conversion, for the bishop and the Muslim scholar have to be sent for, quote unquote, whereas the Sephardic Jew is already with the king. The Sephardic Jew is already with the king. Peep game. And I'm going to end this one with, we now turn our principal Arab source on the conversion, Masadi and his compellers, to the principal Jewish source. This is the so-called Chazar correspondence, an exchange of letters in Hebrew between Hasadai, Adabin Raput, and the Jewish chief minister. And that's where we pick up with Monday, with part 2. We're going to dive into these letters. Okay? We're going to dive into these letters. Advisors to the king's ear, yes. So when y'all kind of like wondering who was the sellouts, these were, not saying all Sephardics are sellouts. We got to stop generalizing, but I'm saying there's a specific tribe who sold out everybody. Now, if I was to pull open the Torah in the Old Testament of the Bible and we read the Maccabees and all of that, one of the brothers' name is Assur. One of the brothers who joined the confederation against the Sephardic Jews, his brothers, was Assur. So one of your brothers sold you out when they did this. Because after they did this conversion, that gave them kind of every right a little bit to It ain't give them no right to fuck over people, but it gave them a false sense of power. Because after they got converted, they turned on the very people that converted them. And ethnic cleansed them too, aka whiten them up or whitewash them up. Right? So you do have a small group of small hats that have a little Sephardic in them, that 1%, because of what they did to the Sephardics after the conversion over there. And then after that, you got the German Moors going to war with them. And the German Moors and the German Sephardics get kicked out of Germany. And then a lot of so-called black Germans come to the United States later on in the 1800s. We're going to connect it all, though. I'm going to walk you down. Yeah, that one drop rule. There you go. Remember, a lot of colonial stuff came from this time, from these people, and they still do the same shit today because they can't create nothing new. All they can do is redo the same shit, just revamp it and hide it even more, or try to. So that one drop rule, right? I got that one Sephardic in me, so I'm on you, you know, all that type of shit. Yeah, right? The racial status, right? Higher class people, white, lower class people, black, right? Came from here. Roman, Holy Roman Empire, Byzantine, Chazarian, Hellenistic motherfuckers. On some Pinky and the Brain shit. Mm-hmm. That first Sunday shit is real too. Yup. So peak game, y'all, peak game. So, was dude really wrong? No, I can't say his name on TikTok, right? The algorithm and AI pick up on certain shit. But was dude really wrong for what he did? I mean, from what we know in the history we diving in so far, uh, was he really wrong? Excuse me. And think about what I just told you and what you can research. If the real him was a melanated man and he come from Sephardic ancestors, come on, man, put it together. And you know what's crazy? He arrested a Rothschild in, I think it was 1937, 1938. 1939, WW2 popped off. Peep game, look at the timelines. He got arrested in 1937, 1938. 1938, 1939, WW2 popped off. Peep game. By 1930s, the United States is already, by 1930s, the government of the United States is already infiltrated by Z Nation people. Why you think when WW2 popped off, they brought all the niggas over here? They did what they did to the, you know what I'm saying, old boy, and they brought all them niggas over here. The government was already Z-nationed up because of what happened in 1890. Woodrow Wilson in 1920s signed into law to start doing business with big banks, central bank, feds, IRS, all of that type of shit. Which is the same year 555 lights, which is the same year that you get reclassified. Your land and shit get taken. And they giving it to so-called immigrants. Who's the immigrants? And a lot of them is getting sent to reservations as well too. Peak game. Peak game. And ever since they got here, listen, ever since they got here, every single smear campaign, every single stereotype to ever be created, every single fucked up Jim Crow, dogs being sicked on you, goddamn strange fruiting, bad media, movies and black every single fucking thing came from these people. Why do they have to work so hard to discredit who you are? Why was they studying you so hard? Because when they came here, they started studying you too. They read all the James Adair books about how American Indians, right? They read all of it, all these books about James Adair and these explorers saying American Indians are so-called lost tribes and all of that, right? When they got here, they start creating shit called biology. They start creating anthropology, archaeology. All that shit start being created around 1800s when these niggas get here and they start studying you. They start studying you, not just you black Americans, but the West Indian, the East Indian, the South American. They start studying all of India Superior. They start digging up mounds, start doing all this type of shit. They trying to figure out, is this true? Because they don't know nothing about over here. Only thing they know is Eastern Europe and that history. So this was a new world to them. Not to the real Greeks, not to the real Italians, not to the real Sephardics and Moors. Everybody, we all knew about this shit. It was new to them because all they knew was Eastern Europe. Them niggas ain't never been nowhere. Niggas been stuck in the hood the whole life. That's why when they got out the hood, they start acting the ass like a motherfucker who left the hood. They start wilding. You feel me? Peak game. By the 1920s, they start understanding who you are. They started creating MK. You feel me? Fill it in. They started creating MK. You dig? But it wasn't called that in the 1920s. It was called Project Artichoke, Project Mockingbird, right? It was called Project Fishbowl and all these other projects and shit that came, you know, CIA, feds, right? Little head people, right? You know, central bank. But, all right, peep game. You dig what I'm saying? Then around 1930s, 1940s, it becomes MK Ultra when they start mass producing TVs and putting TVs in everybody's house, when the industrialization of the world starts becoming a thing. So they start putting psychological or hypnosis boxes in your house. They started fucking with the frequencies. They start putting the fluoride in your water to make you docile. All of this is popping off right now. The 1940s and 50s and shit. This stuff, they literally just gained control. This is why they fighting so hard, because they're losing control. And it was like, bro, we just got here, man. We just got. That's why they mad at the motherfucker. You feel me? They had 100 years to do what they were supposed to do. Them 100 years is up. You feel me? This is the furthest you got in the video game. Sorry, new player, new game. You dig what I'm saying? So then you get hit with the 1960s civil rights movement and all of that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, before the civil rights movement, you get the Harlem Renaissance is when they start corrupting the celebrities, the musicians, the artists, and everything like that. That's when, you know, major labels start becoming a thing, contracts, doing business with the small hat people. That's when all that stuff start becoming a thing, and celebrities begin to start selling out and selling their soul to the devil and shit, right? Peep game. And then when you get to the 60s, they start doing the same thing with the political leaders, right? You know, niggas start becoming sellouts, doing the same shit that the celebrities do, which is ironically because when you look at time today, the celebrities and the so-called black leaders, you can't even tell them niggas apart. Nigga, the so-called political leaders want to be fucking rappers, and the rappers want to be political leaders. Nigga, they peep game, right? So now, after they get a hold of the so-called black community, because they know who we are, then they start initiating Project Break Up the fucking household, because they know that the household is our strong powerhouse. The foundation of our strength was the household. Man, woman, loving and respecting each other, setting strong moral and virtues inside the child, so that child cannot be enticed by the ways of the world by these heathens that's out here. You feel me? So they had to break that shit up. How did they break that up? The CIA initiated planned feminism. The CIA initiated send all the niggas to Vietnam, fuck them up and send them back. By the time they get back, the women are full-blown feminists now. Them niggas gonna start bumping heads in the household and shit. You feel me? And they forced our men to get hooked on drugs, because there's a part of that story that people don't know about and they write off as a conspiracy, but it's a real fact. They would, when they took our men overseas in the Vietnam and all of that type of shit, they would like do some crazy shit to the men. Like they would forcefully get them hooked on drugs. They would hold them down and shoot them up with, you know what I'm saying? You feel me? Get them real hooked and then send them back to America. So when they sent them back, you got the women that's a feminist now, and then you got the men who strung out now. And shit's fucked up. And they got PTSD and everything. Start breaking up the household. Before you get to the so-called crack era, you got to acknowledge the shoot 'em up era. Because that's what it was before. And then it became to the 80s. We got to talk about the 60s and 70s, which led to the 80s. So then, once the household started getting broken up and shit started getting fucked up, welfare come in, CPS really start coming in, child support, all that shit start coming in, start becoming a thing, boop, 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 boop. Fast forward to the 80s, just drop some more shit on them. Guns, drugs, the birth of, just take their political revolutionaries and turn them into gangs and turn them against each other. But how we gonna do that? Just send the niggas in, right? The CIA niggas, the sellouts. Have them pretend to be rival gang members and cause a beef amongst them. And then throw the drugs in there, and then just send agents to teach them how to cook it up and shit, because a nigga ain't got no chemistry inside the hood. A motherfucker had to teach a nigga and send them inside the hood. You dig? Peep game. You did. And then when you fast forward from the 80s, you get to the 90s babies, my era. The 90s babies, the 2000s babies, the 2010 babies, we are all the aftermath of all that shit that happens. This is why I don't be too harsh on the youth. I understand the youth. I'm the 90s baby. We are the first aftermath of the 80s and 70s and 60s babies. We the aftermath. The youngins seen us and took it to another level. You feel what I'm saying? So I understand their mindset, and I understand the 80s mindset. The 90s babies is that bridge of understanding between both of them. Now my live got restricted. Your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search results for 10 minutes because your live does not comply with the for you feed eligible standards. Reason is for the information may cause moderate harm. That's how y'all know I'm telling y'all some real shit. We gonna fall back though. We gonna fall back. We went a little too deep. Yeah, we went a little too deep on that. I'm gonna change my background. You know, we went a little too deep. My bad, y'all. You know, I forgot. It's illegal for Black Americans to say what happened to them. Uh, it's misinformation for us to say what the fuck happened to us in history. My bad, little hat people is at play. Hey man, look, shout out to everybody that's in here, man. I'm about to get me a laptop soon, so we'll be doing lives on YouTube for a little minute. We'll take a little break off TikTok. I should have a laptop by the beginning of May 1st. I should be able to go and grab one from Walmart, and we'll start doing lives on YouTube for a little minute. Let TikTok take a break. Nigga been going hard for 6 years. I ain't even take a break off this shit yet. Yeah. If anybody is interested inside grabbing a copy of my book, the link is in my profile. The Gumroad link that's on my profile. You hit that link, it's gonna take you to the books that I self-publish. I put a lot of information in there that I can't talk about on TikTok. Obviously, I got a lot of disinformation in those books too. You got Reclaiming Our Consciousness 1 and 2. Both of those books dive into holographic universe, how they weaponize the spiritual world against us, and how can we protect ourselves against that attack. And I also break down just steps to mentally break psychological colonization, and just to help rewire your brains of the perception that they gave you. You feel me? And we dive into Gnosticism, esoteric, and hermetics. Monad, Sophia, Demiurge, Archons, all of that, right? So reclaiming our consciousness is exactly what it is. It's reclaiming our consciousness. Because before you reclaim your identity, you got to get your goddamn consciousness back. They hijacked your consciousness. And then they gave you a bullshit story. So you got to get your consciousness back, right? My other book is Aneclipses of America. Aneclipses just means the unveiling or revealing of America. That is a history book. I got all of our history from the Americas inside that book. And I give you sources to other books. You know what I'm saying? And I also got the Hoodoo is an indigenous Black American spirituality practice. I got that document inside that book for y'all, which dives into how Hoodoo is literally an indigenous practice of our spirituality. People always want to know what we did before we were colonized. We did Hoodoo. Simple. I know you feel like Hoodoo is the devil's work, but that's because the small hats brainwashed you to be scared of your own magic while they working roots on your ass. And all the names inside that document who studied your Hoodoo are small hat people. Even Melville Herstovix, he studied Hoodoo and he knew it was an indigenous spirituality practice, and he still called you an African. See what I'm saying? Hoodoo. Stop being scared of what your ancestors gave you. They gave it to you to protect yourself. Hoodoo is to free a captured soul, comma, or capture a soul, comma, or reverse the roots on the person who cast the roots on you. It's all about protection. And we know, because we dive into etymology, that when they say freeing a captured soul, psychology, psych means soul, breath, spirit. Ology is the study of, and you go to a psychiatrist and you talk about what's on your mind and consciousness. So Hoodoo is literally for your consciousness. See what I'm saying? Our ancestors are hella smart. Peep game. You still do Hoodoo today. You just don't know you're doing it. But it's embedded in you. You just don't know you're doing it for the most part. Like, you do the basic Hoodoo every day. But that next level shit, you scared of it. So you stay away from it. But you do basic Hoodoo every day and you don't even know it. Splitting the pole and shit like that. One thing they lied to you about is the cats. Black cats is not bad luck. All through history of ancient times, black cat was a symbol of protection, fortune, abundance, and they actually scared low vibrational entities away from you. This is why if you ever watched that movie, The Mummy, and the mummy was coming to attack them, old boy hit up a black cat to him and it scared the shit out the mummy. He was like, ah, and he ran the fuck away. Yeah, because black cats, for one, they're melanated and they're tapped in. And there is studies that say cats is closely related to snakes and serpents because of their eyes. It's the same as a serpent. So, you gotta, your cat is kind of serpent-ish, just like you. So we always revere the black cat mainly, right along with other cats, but black cats mainly. And we had dogs, but we had specific dogs, right? We didn't really used to fuck around with these hellhounds that we fuck with today. A lot of our people then fell in love with hellhounds, right? Instead of our ancient or American dogs, right? And when I say American dogs, talking about Anubis, black naked ass running around in Mexico somewhere, right? Because there's a Mexican dog look just like Anubis, you feel me? Black as shit, melanated as fuck, no hair, you dig? Chilling in the sun, right? American pit bulls. There's a difference between American pits and this shit that niggas is making up today by fucking up dog breeds, right? Yeah. So when I'm talking about American pits, I'm talking about them real Americans. I'm not talking about these hybridized, fucking crazy looking buff motherfuckers. Nah, them niggas is trash. Okay? American Rottweilers. There's a difference between an American Rottweiler and a German Rottweiler. A German Rottweiler is more bigger. An American Rottweiler is more lean, agile and shit. Just like the American Pit Bull is more lean and agile than that swole ass dogs. You feel me? Just like how you ain't no swole ass nigga. We're lean and athletic as Indians. You dig what I'm saying? So peep game. We have our own dogs, and certain dogs you need to stay away from because a lot of them invite negative energy because they're hellhounds. A lot of them give you parasites too. You let them kiss you all in the face and laying all in your bed and shit like that. Got parasites all in your face. Yeah, man. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Always remember that. Cleanliness is next to godliness. All right. Well, we'll probably do a live about hellhounds and shit one day. Their hellhounds, nah, real shit. One of their hellhounds is the German Shepherd. I mean, shit, the name is German, German Shepherd. That's one of the hellhounds. That's why they always sick them on you. And the German Shepherd love fucking with niggas too. Yeah, them niggas love fucking with you. Yeah, German Shepherds is one of their hellhounds. That's why they always used it. The Bloodhound is one of their hellhounds. That's why they always used it. Pay attention to the dogs that they always use and love and let kiss all in their face and shit. Yeah. It's a difference between demon dogs and holistic dogs. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, for real. Yep. The Greyhounds, the Bloodhounds. You know what I'm saying? German Shepherds. Yeah, a lot of them niggas. We had those naked dogs running wild on the reds. Yeah. Yeah. We got Anubis running around in America right now, naked as hell. Black as fuck. Looking just like Anubis. So peak game. So this is why I say, like, if people can detox from racism and colorism, we can really get somewhere. But as long as people still believe in this social construct that these little hack people created to cause a division amongst a bigger family that they scared of, we're going to always be stuck and stagnated. Once some of the natives wake up, when some of the Hispanics wake up, And once some of our people continue waking up and we stop being racist and colorist and we start understanding ancestry and we all realize that we got one common fucking enemy for a reason. You know what I'm saying? A lot of shit starts to change. But ain't nothing gonna move until America move. Everybody waiting on the Americans. Like they always been waiting on us. A lot of people waiting on us. You got Asian people dropping gems like, yeah, nigga, we waiting on y'all. The Vietnamese nigga, yeah, nigga, we waiting on y'all, nigga. You got hillbillies, black Americans, wake up. You guys can save us. God damn it. Well, you know it's true when the hillbillies start saying that shit. Them niggas don't like us. Wake up. You guys can save us. The fuck y'all know that we don't know? We can't tell you. You gotta figure it out. Universal law. Huh. Peep game. You got Iranians waking up. Niggas all the way across seas know who you are. They making Lego movies. You got old videos on YouTube of Iranian chicks with her baby. Come home, black Americans, come home. Like, I mean, we ain't from there, but why you niggas need our help though? Y'all like way the fuck overseas. You know what I'm saying? Why you like what do everybody know that we forgot? Because I ain't gonna say that we don't know. I'm gonna say forgot. Because that's what happened. We forgot. They gave us amnesia. All the fluoride in the water, all the red 40, all the yellow 5, all the blue 1, all the azo dyes, all the sprays in the air, all the aluminum, all the mercury, all the shit in your brains. The bullshit history, the PsyOps TV, all of this shit. It creates a state of amnesia. When they say black Americans don't know who they are, I understand what they mean now. And they ain't talking about Africans. Because if they wanted to hide your identity, they wouldn't call you an African in the first place. Because that's the narrative everybody run with, right? Them niggas hid our identity, nigga. They ain't want us to know that we was African. Then why the fuck they called you an African American, dumbass? That's the main thing they calling you. If they was hiding your identity, then Africa ain't it. That's the cover story. Your real identity is American. And you always been an American. Your culture is American. Your culture is closer to the indigenous culture than anybody else on this fucking land. You still eating cornbread. You still barbecuing. You still getting grills. You still getting tattoos. You still rocking locks. You still playing basketball. You still joking. You still bullshitting. You still rebellious. You never like slave catchers. It still fuck the police. You never want to cooperate with the feds. That's why we say fuck being federally recognized, nigga. I don't need no BIA to tell me who the fuck I am. You still a fucking Indian smoking bud and wow, nigga. They couldn't assimilate you into their culture, so they've been trying to replace you with Africans this whole time. That's a fact. This is why we don't care what people say. You can't tell me who the fuck I am. And ain't nobody in the world gonna approach us about it. This is why they only stay on TikTok. They keyboard warriors. Ain't nobody in real life gonna walk into the hood and say, fuck y'all niggas, y'all lying. Them niggas ain't gonna make it out that bitch. They know that they gotta do this shit from afar. They more scared of you than you scared of them. You gotta wake up to who you are, man. Wake that spirit up, man. You been asleep for so long, bro. It's time to wake up the sleeping giant again. Niggas been asleep for so long, got so comfortable and shit. Wake up. Ain't nothing gonna happen to you, I promise you, nigga. It's not enough jails that they can put 50 million niggas in. Oh, and if you include our Latino brothers and sisters and our West Indian brothers and sisters, they ain't got enough private prisons to put over a goddamn billion motherfuckers in, bro. Wake your ass up. Stop being scared. You are the breadwinner. And you ain't got to put hands on nobody. You can beat them with economics. You are the breadwinner. You've always been the breadwinner. You ain't never lost. You generate $2.1 trillion a year. That's top 10 of nations. That's more than them.
You the breadwinner. You can beat them with economics. This is why they make sure that we are economically illiterate, because they know that economics is our strong shit. Once we get the ball rolling, it's a wrap. We got to make these people economically illiterate, bro. That's how we win shit. Instead of them building with $2.1 trillion, they're going to give that shit to us. Even though we print the money or whatever, it is still energy. And this is still a game. And if you want to play the game to win, you better understand economics and unity. This is why they destroyed your community. This shit ain't rocket science, man. This shit ain't rocket science. That's why I ain't got time to be debating no fucking Pan-Africans on TikTok. Them days is over with. That shit lame, is watered down, and is outdated. Anybody that's still debating 05 and pork titty and any Pan-African in 2026, they stuck, stagnated, and they don't know where the fuck to go. Hell no. That shit is over with. I'm not arguing with no more natives. It ain't my fault that it ain't no Liberia on the reses, nigga. No hate. But if you gonna call me an African because I'm dark skinned, I'm gonna call you a white man because you pale. Now you can respect my ancestor and I respect yours and we can build together. Or we can say fuck it and stay separate. It makes me no difference. I want my people to unite. And I've always been doing this shit for my people. That's why I don't care what nobody else say. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna, like, come on, man. But once people understand the history of these people, it stopped being about race and skin color. It's not about you being a native. It's not about you being a Hispanic. It's not about you being a fucking Mexican. It's not about you being a black American. It's about the fact that these niggas is morally evil. And they've been fucking over all of us. It ain't just our kids coming up missing, the Mexican kids coming up missing, the native kids coming up missing, the West Indian kids coming up missing, our kids coming up missing, nigga, white people kids coming, nigga, all this, nigga, they don't give a fuck about what racial, nigga, bring them, come on, bro. And we sitting here as grown ass fucking adults talking about, your skin's white, no, your skin's black, no, the Indians was dark, no, the Indians was white, your hair's like, nigga, what the fuck, we in kindergarten, nigga? Kids don't even give a fuck about what your skin tone is. Nigga, hey, you want to go build a sandcastle? Yeah, come on. Unity. Let's build together. I don't care about your skin tone. Yeah, let's go build. You want to go down the slide? Yes, let's go. They don't give a fuck. We the only ones that is kids smarter than us at this point? Because we can't unite with the fuck. And kids do it so effortlessly. Come on, man. 222 on the clocks. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's gonna come a point in time, none of that shit matter, man. It's about your soul and your spirit and your consciousness. It's about your moral character and your integrity at the end of the day. A star seed can come in many shapes, forms, and sizes. They can come in many shades. The soul ain't got no skin complexion. It just is. And that's some Gnosticism and Hermetics for your ass. But people are still attached to this physical realm. They still wrestling with the flesh and blood without understanding the spiritual warfare that they always been in. We wrestle with principalities. You know, this the shit your pastors ain't gonna tell you either. Cause them niggas done sold you out a long time ago. For real, your pastors ain't gonna tell you this either. Them niggas sold you out a long time ago. This shit gonna have to come from the community. Cause you ain't gonna get no help from the church. The church been against you since 1 AD. I've been reading it to you. Who been persecuting Sephardics, Moors, and Indians? Nigga, the fucking church. The church. You know? Yeah, we definitely gotta be present. But it all starts spiritually. The physical is the physical manifestation of the spiritual realm. What happens in the spirit manifests in the physical. It's all one. So we definitely got to be present. Read history to understand the present. Don't read history to get caught up in the present. You read history to understand the present. In order to understand what's going on today, you got to understand what happened yesterday. And this is why I'm big on putting the jigsaw puzzle together, because that's all they did. They took history, broke it into different pieces, and watched that bitch around and tell you to put it together and figure it out. If you don't want to figure it out, you could just believe you from Africa and niggas were slaves, Martin Luther King, Obama, nigga. And that's the path that people choose instead of actually figuring it out. I'm gonna figure this shit out, nigga. Appreciate that galaxy, man. I appreciate that. Thank y'all for the love. Just say it. What's happening, KB? I ain't see you come in here, man. But check it out, though, y'all, man. It is 2:25. I gotta go pick my daughter up at 3 o'clock, so I gotta get ready for the day. You know, gotta switch to dad mode. Y'all know how it is. I gotta go check on my grandmama. I mean, not my grandmama, but my mama as well, too. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for the likes, the love, the gifts as well, too. Also, if y'all can, and I'm only asking if you can, I don't do this oftenly, but Mom Dukes had surgery on her knee. So she's out of work for right now. So I've been trying to help her out with her bills and make sure she got groceries and stuff for the week. So if you could donate anything to the Cash App that I can help Mom Dukes out with, I really do appreciate it. And I have no problem with paying you back when I get paid if it comes to that. But that shit getting kind of expensive. You know, I already got to take care of the little one and shit. You know what I'm saying? Kids are already expensive. But I got to also make sure that mom's straight as well, too, as her son. So if you could, I really do appreciate it. I don't mind paying you back if it came down to it. But if not, I understand as well, too. We are in America as well. But I appreciate all the love, all the gifts, all the support. Y'all the real MVPs. If it wasn't for y'all, there would be no Signs for the Conscious Mind or this platform. Shout out to everybody that grabbed a copy of my book. I hope y'all enjoying it from front to back. You know, make sure you give it 5 stars if you love it and everything like that. If you're new to my page, check out my YouTube, Signs for the Conscious Mind. I put all my lives up there that you can catch up on and everything like that. Signs for the Conscious Mind is the YouTube. Also, check out other American Indian authors inside our community. You know, we got Jim Dropper, a.k.a. Swarthy. He got The Great American Switch. We got Rashad Poet, Somebody Been Lying. Shout out to C3. You know, got her American Indian coloring book and her other historical book as well, too, that she's promoting. The link is in everybody's bio. You know, only people that's going to tell our story the correct way is us. Everybody tried and they fucked it up. Hollywood fucked it up. Just everybody done fucked it up. So the only people that's going to tell our history the correct way is us. And it's our job to tell it in the first place. So peep gang. Y'all enjoy y'all day. I see y'all in these TikTok streets. Peace, 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 peace. Yeah, Debbie, I do. I'm about to post it. I'm about to post the Cash App right now. Because I do got one. Nigerian tried to get me, and so I had to create another one. So, and like I said, I appreciate anybody who could donate to the Cash App. Y'all already know. But that's the Cash App right there if y'all want to tap in. Yep, I also got Chime. If you hit me in my DM, I can send you my Chime as well too. My book link is in the bio. My bio. Yep. So, but I think y'all gonna enjoy this one. Y'all gonna enjoy this deep dive. But I'ma holler at y'all. Peace, peace, peace.